Welcome everyone to the American Le Mans Series Season Review. 2006 was a superb season. And why was that? Because the arrival of the new Audi R10. Because Porsche and Penske team got better and better as each race went along in LMP2. And also because the battle for the championship in GT1 was absolutely amazing, with a lot of tension between the Corvette and the Aston Martin. Even in GT2, maybe the most competitive class, where we had to wait until the last race of the season before knowing who won. Well, welcome back in a second part of the season review on the LMP2 and GT1 classes, but we start with the Audi. The R8 was a star, one of the best prototypes in history, and the R10, launched at the Sebring, seemed back to the best. Yet there was a big problem for Audi. The R10, which was to start on pole, started from pit lane, which prevented the number 2 being on time at the start of the grid. Here we go for all the action.
Coming through turn 17, Sunset Bend, and that will in fact come into play later in the day. Of course, the field starting to bunch up. We're moments away, seconds away from the start of the 2006 ALMS season. There you hear it, we are green! The 54th 12 hours of Sebring is underway, and Audi to the lead. 2 Porsches, 2 Dysons round out the top 5.
Watch for this GT battle in the back. That's going to be fraught.
And here are all the starters that were relegated to pit lane. More than just the Audi, of course, some other cars with trouble. There is the fastest car in qualifying, and Renardo Capello brings that car now out to speed. And I would imagine auguring through the pack is going to be something to watch. Back to the front, however, and Frank Biela leads in the Audi with the 2 Porsches close at hand. And then the questionable in terms of some problems in practice and qualifying, those 2 Dyson Lolas.
And I was very surprised that the Audi was not able to clear that GT2 Porsche all the way down to turn 3. I wonder if it still has problems.
Or maybe just lots of caution.
These Porsches are a lot quicker. Watch what happens when they get into traffic. The diesel takes longer to recover when it gets broken off its pace, and they were really worried about the Porsches because there are rockets around these corners.
Matter of fact, talking to Alan McNish a little bit earlier in the weekend, he said when you're in traffic, he said those cars, because they're so light, they just get through traffic, as you said, because they just accelerate so much quicker than the weight of the P1 car. With this clear track, you would think that Biela would be able to just motor away just a little bit. Not the case, as Timo Bernhard is hanging on.
Well, I have to tell you, the Audis do not have traction control, even though it is legal. They have not been able to develop it yet for that diesel. As a result of that, these drivers are going to have to be very careful on the rear tire wear. They don't want to go and tear the tires off the car early.
As Christensen said to Galvin, real careful with the right foot.
Yeah, I mean, 800 foot-pounds of torque will take a 1-inch solid piece of steel and twist it, cuts a lot of it, so you don't want to be doing that.
Lap 1 complete here at Sebring. We move back to the 4 spot. Guy Smith in the number 20 Dyson entry, the Lola, and right behind him, James Weaver in the 16. And these 2 cars have had some monumental struggles, really, with certain components. When they run, they've been pretty quick.
That's an untried package with this new V8, and they've had some oil pump scavenge pump problems. We'll get into that if it happens during the race. I'm surprised at James Weaver that he didn't pounce at the start. It's his MO, if you will. He really likes to be aggressive right off the bat.
He's giving it the odd look-see here and there, but I think right now they're just settling in and hoping that this will just run for a while. The V8 in that car, one of the most, not one of, it is the most compact V8 in the field, and it's a brand new design and it's a brand new chassis. So in this first race, no better place to test than at Sebring. Now, some guys that have had a fair amount of success at Sebring, we've talked about as well in the GT1 category. The Aston Martins have been, obviously the success last year. We're going to pick them up as they go through the field. You can see already the speed of the prototypes. Here we go. That is Darren Turner in the lead. Aston Martin right now, and of course he is one of the drivers that was part of that winning package last year. And
Sayers and his teammate not that far behind with the other Aston Martin. These guys, I would think, if they were smart, will play this team tactic all day long.
Well, we talked about them making the switches that go on board to the Pirelli tires, and one thing we're seeing in practice, qualifying, when we were out on the track watching, they certainly look awfully supple over these bumps compared to the other competitors in this class.
I think they might actually have a softer sidewall than what they used to look on, because they said they have to be very, very tender.
And we've got reports of problem for the number 33 entry. Brian?
Well, Greg, Michael Vergers has brought the number 33 in. They're back in the engine compartment. It's a Courage AER combination, and it looks like they're now removing spark plugs. They removed the spark plug wires. Now they're taking the plugs out themselves. So this is not what you want to see early on. 4 new plugs will be going in, but this is going to be a long stop for the guys here.
That's the Barazzi Epsilon Courage C65, and as we said, the AER engine package in it. Michael Vergers did the qualifying and is arguably the quickest driver in that team, and that car has shown some pretty decent pace, but obviously a huge setback early.
Well, they lost the cylinder. They first tried to do spark plugs. Now they're doing the coils. You see the coil pack, it sits on top of the spark plug as one unit, so they'll go ahead and probably put all 4 of them in there.
Now watching here, look at that prototype right behind these 2 Aston Martins. That is John Field coming up through the pack. And obviously that car, quite quick, dropped off just a little bit. So he's working his way up through traffic. And here is a look at our leader in the early going in the GT2 category, David Brabham. And boy, Brabham and Panos united once again. Yeah, and Brabham put that thing on the pole and turned everybody's head around in GT2. We knew he was quick, but he turned a lap similar to Alan McNish, who got everybody's attention. Well, throughout practice, it had been the Ferrari that had shown the pace, and substantially so. And then in qualifying, Brabham gets the job done in a remarkable run in that Panos. Now is a partnership program with Multimatic Motorsports out of Canada, so well renowned for suspension work, and that car is working. Here are your class leaders very early on. Audi that leads overall, and then P1 with Frank Biela still doing the job as we hop on board with the very talented, fast, and very likable German driver. And you at home, if you just popped on, this is an Audi, but this is a diesel-powered Audi, a turbo diesel, and it's making history here today as it runs 1.2 presently. And if you can hear it, it doesn't make much noise. Yeah, it's very quiet. It doesn't smoke. New era in sports car racing. Well, it is said to be the most powerful diesel engine ever built, and yet it is so very, very quiet, and just remarkable technology. And a guy that's been so closely related to Audi and success in sports car racing is with Calvin Fish.
Well, we've certainly been listening to the car out there, Tom. We were just listening to the sounds of this revolutionary new race car from a driver's perspective. You had a chance to drive it this week, of course, for the first time. What was the initial impression? How different is it from a gas-powered car?
No, I'd say it's even, when we drive it, we feel and hear the noise less than you do, actually, from out here. We're driving away. So after third gear, it's more the resonance and sort of the supersonic car. You hear the wind noise from where we are sitting, and you have to, in the early laps, be very aware about the shift light, because obviously with a diesel engine it has a lot of torque, a lot of power, but only in this narrow range. So in this sense, you have to optimize and be more disciplined on the gear change. And after third gear, if you can't hear it, then you have to know where you have to shift, or you have to watch the shift light. So it's a big difference.
Almost taking away one of your senses in driving the car. Does that mean you have to rely more on the systems in the car for all of the shift inputs and things like that?
I think it's already there, but as any new car, you can improve and improve. Look, the R8, we kept improving driving as drivers over the years. In the last years, there was no development, but we still made it go a little bit faster here and there, and especially over the distance, because one thing is one lap, but you need a lot of physical effort to drive this one over 12 or let's say 24 hours.
Okay, Tom, good luck. Let's go down to Brian.
Calvin, at the beginning of the show, we talked about the GT2 class and new Marks coming back. BMW's back, but we've got a problem, guys.
We sure do. Frank Biela has just had a huge spin coming through the Le Mans curve onto the Ullman Straight. He had spent a couple corners, Dorsey, trying to get by one of the GT2 Porsches, who I don't think realized he was there.
I don't know know if he made contact. There was cars in the same proximity. He had a big spin there coming out of the last corner on the back straight. Will he make pit lane this lap? No, he goes on.
Well, I think we heard him saying, wondering if he flat spotted. Look at the vibration, and it's intermittent. And we heard him say, I have a flat spot, but they wouldn't have had tires ready that quick. So he's got to do the lap, doesn't he?
And you don't know yet that he's got one. I can't really say from that vibration because it's Sebring after all. It's never smooth here. But a big spin and almost a costly error with other cars around.
Welcome back to the action. We're at race hours 3. And the now number 2 Audi with Capello at the wheel, which started from pit lane, don't forget, is now back at the head of the course.
We certainly see the Audi number 2 car running up front right now. The guy who has not been behind the wheel yet is Alan McNish. Alan, after a very nervous start to the morning with the problem in the warm-up, how have things been going for the team?
Since then, the cars run like clockwork, obviously with the problem in the warm-up with the heat exchanger, as you mentioned, which meant we had to start from the pit lane, but so far everything's run very well and we've had no repercussions of it, and we seem to have been able to get back through the field and pick up where others dropped out.
You haven't had a chance to talk to Tom. He's currently behind the wheel, but Dindu, after his first double stint, what did he say about the car?
The car is fantastic. Basically, that's what Dindu says anyway. But no, he was very happy with the balance and the grip that he had. The circuit, I think, was especially slick in the second stint. There's people bringing sand back onto the track, but that was more a circuit condition than a car condition.
All right, mate, thanks a lot. Well, as Alan said, no problems with the number 2 machine, but the number 1 car, there have been some issues. The last stop they made, they changed the data cards. We come over here. This is the Audi think tank. Look at the amount of personnel they have here, pouring over these computers, just trying to see. There are some issues, we believe, with the number 1 car. I spoke to Reinhold Jost. He said, we think we're on top of it, but certainly there is some concern right now.
It hurt, Brian, some radio chatter about a loss of power. When that diesel came in for the first time since we've seen it this weekend, a little puff of smoke out of the back of the tailpipe. These diesels, folks at home, do not smoke.
On board the 1 car, and as you can tell, that is not on the racetrack, Dorsey. They've taken that back to the paddock.
That is in their tent, and it looks like the tent sides are down. Audi not wanting to divulge what they're going to do with this car.
Yeah, but they didn't know we still had onboard camera technology. Here's the deal. That car has run so well, but we heard them saying on the radio, and Calvin showing us the think tank. The think tank can't do anything if they don't have data. And what we heard on the radio is that the telemetry had gone, and so the car was not sending any messages back to the pit. So all those engineers with their laptops really had no data to look at. 4 car, we understand, the number 4 Corvette has come to pit road.
Yes, indeed it has, and this is a routine stop. Ollie Gavin will get out, and Olivier Beretta will climb in. The 2 Ollies, of course, did such a phenomenal job last year. For this season, of course, they have changed their engineers, but really isn't making that much difference. I think it's good for the team to do that once in a while. So, in a moment, I'll try and catch a word with Ollie Gavin, but all is calm down here in Corvette, looking for that Sebring victory, which, of course, eluded them last year.
Andrew, the story at Audi is they're really not saying much. I just went up to Dr. Ulrich. He just raised his shoulders and said, I do not know what the problem is. They've sent the car back to the paddock area, Marco Werner behind the wheel, so they're going to dig a little bit deeper. But when he came in for his last stop, I know it's a diesel-powered car, but the car did not have the right smell. It had that ugly engine smell that doesn't bode well.
And Calvin, our onboard camera is still recording data, and they've got the car. They just put it up on the jacks right there. Nobody in a big hurry, though, Brian.
No, there was not a lot of sense of urgency on the part of any of the mechanics there, so it does not bode well for the boys in the number 1 car. Meanwhile, Tom Christensen continues to lead. John Field in P2, Gavin in GT2, and Anthony Lazzaro.
And that looks to me like we have our race leader in. Cal?
This is a little bit earlier than we expected. They're not running at that full fuel load that he had on board, and they're just getting into their window. They will be able to get to the finish. trying to calculate what this diesel has been getting. It seems like they've stretched it a little bit further here in the ladder going. It was getting about 32 laps early on. The last one was about 36 when Capello brought the car in. This is certainly a long way shy of that, but they're certainly within a window without any drama to be able to get this car to the finish. So strategy is just playing a little part of the game here. Tom took a quick drink. No tyres, fuel only. He's underway, trying to win that for Sebring.
No traffic on pit exit.
Well,
no traffic on pit exit.
I almost wonder they're bringing him in now when there's more fuel in the car, means less time spent fueling to get you back to where you need to go. I mean, is it just
no.
it up a little bit?
You know, I think it's more they don't want anybody to know what kind of fuel mileage they can get. They're going to keep the numbers bouncing around. If I were them, I wouldn't show the mileage yet either, because they've shown incredible speed, breaking the track record by 2 seconds. You don't want to show that you could go another half hour longer than everybody else will do, I don't think.
Did you work for the CIA once, or is this paranoia just a normal racing thing? Brian Till.
Well, Andy Wallace is back in. He was just talking to Randall Kelsey on the radio a minute ago. Said it's still bottoming in the back end. So obviously, like you were saying, Dorsey, a dangerous situation. They want to make sure that everything's okay. They spoke with a Lola engineer and thought perhaps it was a bit of the under tray that had taken a big hit in the bottom and fallen off, because that piece is missing. But obviously that's not the case. Andy went right back out, did a lap, and said, no, it's still bottoming out, guys. We got to look for a problem.
You know, these things, they get this aero porpoising, Brian. It's kind of weird.
Tug on those push rods too.
We'll see him working at the back of the shock area.
Aaron, I think it's on your side. I think that shock is full of stuff. It's gone up to 22, 23, whatever now. I don't know what's going on. It's picking up another tire or something in the pit. Pressures were fine when you came in that last set, so that's not it. Matt, take a good look at the stays for the floor, the gearbox stays for the floor.
The under panel on these cars. Go on, Brian.
Standing here with James Weaver, a very interested bystander. James, first of all, the car has been spectacular for you guys, and I know that you've got high hopes for it, but any idea what's going on right now?
No, but for me, that's not unusual. We think there's something gone wrong. It's hitting the ground a lot at the back. We can't quite figure out why, so we're just going to change the dampers as a precaution so we don't smash it to bits. But all the pushrod loads look okay. There doesn't look like there's anything bent, but it looks like there might be a problem with the left rear damper.
The new package seems to be so good. I know you guys have high hopes for it. When you go from here to the tracks that are a little bit smoother in the shorter races, do you think you're going to have something for the Audi?
I think this is going to be very similar to the last Lola. I think on the fast circuits, it's going to be fantastic. That's what we're looking forward to.
And you're in your 20th year with Dyson. What does that say about you?
It just says what a tolerant man Mr. Dyson is, I would think.
Always good fun to come and talk to these guys down here. It is such good fun. They're all a great sense of humor. Obviously, James Weaver, always a laugh a minute, guys.
Well, he is so fun. I mean, we had the a comment earlier when they were having it cutting out in the slow corners, and they asked him about it. Is it just it's only in the slow corners, right? And Weaver went, yes, but mate, all the corners are slow for me. He's just so self-deprecating and so much fun.
One more, that's all. Don't let me cut out, you have the ice. Going to the finish line, your pen. look good. Fantastic job. Audi R10. GTI. Here we go.
Well, down here with the Audi bunch, Alan McNish, what a night for you boys, winning for the first time with diesel power.
It's a fantastic night for us. Audi have worked really hard on the mechanics, especially to remember we had to take this car apart this morning. We missed the start, but we came from the back. That's the good thing about it.
Awesome job, Tom. Tom gets his helmet off, throws it to the crowd. Tom, what a night for you. History in the making here. 4-time win at Sebring, and the first time with TDI power.
Yeah, history today is made because of this rocket ship. Audi North America came here to test. They got the courage to come here to test. And in this run, this race, we conquered the Sebring. We conquered the 12 hours on this fantastic circuit. Oh, great new baby we got.
Welcome back to the brand new track at Salt Lake City in Utah. Here is a look at the Miller Motorsports Park. 23 turns, 4.5 miles. And here's a look inside. We're back in the ALMS after the Le Mans 24-hour. And another win for the Audi R10 with Piero, Biela and Werner. As we check out this brand new circuit, corner by corner. And after winning the Le Mans 24-hour, this would be a very tough race for both the Audi cars. Well, there's a lap of the circuit. Now we head back to the live commentary for the start.
All right, so they start at the back, but at the front we are ready to go. And a little bit green on the last, and the two Audis lead us in and down to the front straight, but look at James Weaver in tow, way to the inside. Weaver now moves outside, looks again inside. A great qualifying effort for the Dyson Lola, but not able to get around the wall really put up by those two Audis side by side. And now they slot in behind. That was exciting, and obviously Alan McNish, looking racy early, wanted to try the outside, decided, well, better time to wait.
But look also how much movement is in.
Oh, he's off!
And Biela's off on the outside, very quick corner, first lap. The Dyson slips into second place.
We were jumping on that opportunity, and he was racing from the beginning as well, and suddenly McNish to the lead, a little bit of a gap now. Biela going to immediately try and attack Weaver.
We expected Weaver to be really aggressive on this opening lap. He's going to try and take advantage of these Audis. We know the Audis have been oversteering throughout the practice days. They've really tried to get a handle on that. I spoke to Ed Turner, who's the engineer on the #1 machine. He said Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro do not like a loose race car. We certainly saw that during the opening lap there as Frank took an off-course excursion.
Oh, hit! Oh! Biela got into the Ferrari, and he is on the curb.
Put his nose in there, got it squeezed, and then got up on the curb. He's back underway.
I think the mistake there was he thought he could get through and that the Milo would just move over, but he was trying to get by. But he was trying to get by the Panos.
He's got, looks like there's some damage on that right front. Looks like it might be tweaked just a little bit. And Malo, of course, was trying to run down and catch Gunnar Jeanette and get around them in their own little battle here. So he was focused elsewhere, and here we go down the straight from the Panos, 3 abreast. Look at McNish.
Now that's Biela coming back. And he goes wide. He tried to get in there deep on the brakes.
Got in deep, and now Dumas having a look. Wheeler in recovery mode here. He lost a couple of positions. Looked like he was trying to get them both back at once and just ran wide. And the dust on the exit, Danny, once you get off the line a little bit, there's not much grip there.
No, and what he really has to do is take a deep breath right here, regroup, not get panicky. He's got the speed in the car. Hold on a second. Let's get ourselves readjusted, and we'll work our way back through the field.
Well, a guy Smith able to get underneath. Maybe he's doing that, but it seems when he went off the first time, he was trying to do too much too soon, probably with junked up tires.
And here we are back at the restart. Capello in the number 2 Audi. He had to stop and come into the pits for a tyre change after getting a puncture just after the restart. He lost the lead, but it was another Audi with Pirro at the wheel that took over command.
We see green flag racing. Field streams down towards turn 1. See the guys just weaving. We talk about the pickup on the tires, and that looks like Capello, the number 1 machine, Pirro. So the 2 car looks like it may have peeled off into pit lane. We saw 2 cars, and there it is. Capello's in.
Brian? Crew guys running out with left side tires only, so they must have gotten some report on the telemetry that there was a problem. No, they'll go to right side as well. A lot of pickup on the right side tires that came out of this Audi R10, so perhaps that was the problem, or telemetry told them that there was a tire going down. Either way, they've got 4 new Michelins. They're back on track.
Wow, that's unbelievable. They sat under caution there for quite some time, and right as the pace car peeled off, Dindo Capello was obviously feeling something on that final lap under caution. He had to make a stop and get a fresh set of rubber here, so now he has really got his work cut out for him. He's a long way behind the leader, that is the sister car, Pirro.
I did check in with the crew. I talked to Brad Kettler, who oversees both cars. He said the telemetry did tell them they had a puncture on the left rear, so they needed to come in and get that taken care of. If you're going to take 1, you might as well take 4 fresh tires.
Absolutely, you need a full set to really get the balance there. It's very awkward if you just change 1 tire under braking when you get back out there, so that's the smart decision. But right now, this is really a curveball that's thrown a spanner in the wrench there. You see the louver there that is broken.
Well, look at this. This is the other car. Look at him weaving back and forth. Look at Pirro, and watch for this piece of, see, look at the chunks right there.
Wow.
That are coming off. So obviously the pickup at this stage of this race, this deep into it, Calvin, is just unbelievable. Look at it.
It's just flying out of there, and that's why that louver on the front end of the Audi got busted out there. We see it right now. Just see it there as the car comes through the shot. That little piece of carbon fiber sticking up there. That's what happens when the wheel is turning. It spins up, and here we see the lead battle. Lucas Lur right on the tail of Emanuele Pirro right now, so this is great stuff between the Audi and the Porsche.
You just saw the torque. The Audi drives away. The light weight of the Porsche under braking just screamed right back to it. And again, this caution helping Lucas Lur immensely at this stage. And he is now in full-on pursuit of Pirro, and the margin officially, of course, was very close at the start-finish line, and it has stayed there, and we saw Pirro doing lots of weaving coming after he got
the green, which is very unusual. Normally these drivers try and get that tire scrubbed in before they get back to green, but Pirro was still feeling it as they took the green flag. You see them really stretch their legs down this front straightaway, 2/3 of a mile in length, but through the infield, it'll be interesting to see whether Lucas Lur has anything for Pirro right now.
I wonder if Pirro picked up one of those chunks that was that came off of Capello's car and felt it, decided to do something quick to clean it, and see if it works. Now he opens the margin up just a little bit about over Lucas Lur, and we have seen the Porsche has been able to turn laps in the 224s, and I haven't seen the Audi get down there just yet.
We haven't seen Pirro manage those laps. We saw Alan McNish earlier in the event running 224s, but we haven't seen Pirro run below a 25 yet, so he's really got the pressure on right now. So both these guys good on fuel to the finish. Got about 11 minutes left in this thing, so there's a lot of action going to happen here. Coming through the infield section. Alan McNish said earlier in the show, if you do get the pickup, it can take up to 4 laps, which is incredible. That's like 20 miles of racing to try and get the rubber back off. And there you see that Porsche really quick there through precision corners. A flat-out section now. He's not close enough to take advantage of it.
And we have a great race unfolding here. The car to the left of your screen, the silver and red Audi R10 TDI, the diesel, continues to lead. Emanuele Pirro hanging on. Lucas Luhr in the DHL Global Mail Porsche Spyder right behind. The P1 class, the P2 class, but this is for overall. And Calvin certainly looks in spots. The Audi has it. In other spots, certainly Luhr looks to be quicker.
He does, but looking down this long front straightaway here, the R10 really stretches its legs. Big gap there as they go down into turn one. So that really gives Pirro the breathing room that he needs. He doesn't have to defend as he goes down into turn one.
Now, as we are looking at Lucas Luhr, keep in mind there's an intense points battle going on in the P2 category, and the leaders right there are the Intersport Lola team right here, the very exotics and rehearsals.com car. Liz Halliday back behind the wheel of that machine, and with all of the things that have gone on with the number 6 car and the fact that or the 7 car, and it looks like the 6 car might be well placed, they may still come out of this leading.
They should. If they can hold on to this second place finish, there's a 4 points difference in points between first and second place today. They have a 5-point lead in the championship, so that should enable them to hold on to that championship lead, but it's going to be down to 1 point. But what a great job this team is doing. They don't have the resources of Penske. They just keep plugging along. They realize they just got to take advantage of some of the bad breaks that Penske may have. They're certainly doing that here again today. But Liz Halliday, great job. She's now had 5 wins in this category, and teamed with Clint Field, who's the record holder in P2 with 14 victories in his career.
Under 3 minutes to go. 2 minutes 40 seconds right now. So Liz just has to bring this one home, and they'll at least hang on to that point lead as things sit right now. Now, another car that we've been following, who's had a bit of an up-and-down day, is the number 16 Tetford Norco Lola, Butch Leitzinger. Behind the wheel, his teammate, Chris Dyson, right in front of that car, albeit about to go down a lap to that number 16 entry. And they've been very fast. The 60 car has been very quick, but they've also had a couple of spins. They've had a couple of, as a result, unplanned stops. But when this car is on track, it has been running fast. It has been running reliably, and I think that's the good news for them.
It really is, and I'll tell you what happened at their home track at Lime Rock in the last round was really devastating to their championship hopes. They had that problem on the grid with the clutch. They went back, they fixed it, and there's a rule that you have to do 70% of the overall winner's distance to get points. They did like 68, 69%, so they were within a lap or two of getting points, and they'd be right in the mix if they got points that day.
And we go back to this very compelling lead battle right now. Pirro hanging on over Lucas Luhr. And as you can see, coming up on 1 minute and 35 seconds remaining. And these are 2 hour, 45-minute events. So keep in mind, we anticipate the white flag coming out this time by start-finish. And that means 1 lap to go. And so now it is up to Pirro to hang on and to see what Lucas Luhr can throw at him here in this final lap. And traffic. Oh, and this might hurt Lucas. Is he going to get down underneath?
Has to be careful. Remember, he's thinking about a P2 championship, so you can't throw it all away here for the overall win today. You got to just think smart. Lucas has a lot of experience, but there you see the gap has certainly stretched a little bit further. But for Pirro and Biela, what a return to the US this would be. They had to miss a few rounds, as we mentioned. They only had the 1 R8 available for those 3 rounds between Sebring and this round here today, and that went to McNish and Capello on the basis of them winning at Sebring in round 1. So these are the Le Mans winning guys. They won Le Mans with Marco Werner, and it's just been a tremendous season. Even though they can't defend the championship, they're too far behind in points. They will certainly look for more victories this year.
And after an interesting race, it's kind of, I think, sweet poetic justice after Biela's pole for Pirro to bring it home for the win and their return to the series. Although, of course, for McNish and Capello, who've been undefeated in P1 in the American Le Mans Series this year, it's going to be a bit of a bitter pill. And we may be, of course, jumping things again. There's a lot of racetrack left to go. We're only halfway through this final lap.
Yeah, this is the fast section. This is where the Audi should stretch out a little bit further. Then we're going to get into the twisty stuff. What Lucas Luhr needs now is some traffic in front of that Audi, but it looks like he's got a few corners ahead of him before he's going to meet any slower cars. Final few turns here. Pirro has so much experience in the Audi race cars. He would love to get a victory here today with his teammate. But Lucas Luhr, he is so competitive. He has a fire in his belly. He doesn't just want to see his first P2 victory. He'd love to win overall and certainly win the battle of the German giant manufacturers here.
And of course, it's I think very germane to point out that they may have won Le Mans, but they're also the defending series champions. So to come home in their first race since Sebring and to come home and bring home a win,
here it is.
Think that's
he's got to get close through these last couple of left-handers. One more left-hander. This is Clubhouse, I believe they're coming into.
Yep.
Is he close enough? That final turn, you can sneak down the inside. Here he comes. He's close. Will Pirro defend?
Lure comes in, but now I would think Audi diesel torque. Lure gets a run, but there it is. The Audi starts to drive away, and they've done it. The defending series champions, the Le Mans champions, come back to the United States, to the American Le Mans Series, and they bring home a win from pole.
Previously on the American Le Mans Series.
The checkered flag flies. Alan McNish gets the win. He won here with Dindo Capello. Audi has dominated action this season with 6 straight class victories. Dindo Capello and Alan McNish have won 5 of those 6. Dyson Racing teammates James Weaver and Butch Leitzinger have shown great speed in qualifying with 2 poles, but have yet to convert that pace into race day victories. White flag is out. This is it. Last lap. Capello chasing Pirro. There's Leitzinger, 3rd in class, 3rd overall. Needs some help.
Which can only hope that these 2 up front make a mistake. You know they're trying really hard right now.
Out of 3.
Pirro, better job out of 3. Unfortunately, that should drag him down into turn 5 safely. I don't think Dindo will have enough room to run into him. Yet.
Oh boy, that was nice though. He's fairly close now, up into 6.
Again, all you can do is hope to get through this 7. It's an off-camber corner. You got to get through here hot. Good passing zone right down here.
You're wondering about what was going on in GT2, just to tell you, the margin now a little over 2 seconds as once Bergmeister got around hand, he was able to open it up, just a little bit of breathing room. That's why we're staying with this battle. It is compelling.
It's like Pirro's car a little better through that end on the high-end, high-speed part. He's got 2 more possibilities.
Oh boy, but did Capello get through there nicely? He is very close this time. Let's see what happens. Got to be awful brave to come from that far back. Couldn't do it.
No way could he do it. It wasn't close enough, and there's only one more place that he could possibly get it. And it's not this corner, it's the next one coming up pit straight. And your key to success is going to be come off that corner. He's looking to the inside. That's going to kill his speed. He's done.
Yep, that was it. He had to take this try, and look at Leitzinger, who made up a lot of ground.
Yeah, that slowed him up a great deal making that move.
Here we go. Pirro gets the win. Followed by Capello and Leitzinger. 0.7 of a second covering the top 3.
Unbelievable, guys. Thank you all.
American Le Mans Series.
We head straight on to Mosport and the end of the race. A race that was to be the title decider for McNish and Capello.
Welcome back to the 8th round of the American Le Mans Series, the Grand Prix of Mosport, as we are closing in on 5 minutes remaining. McNish continues to lead, and we want to show you what we think the candidate for the shell move of the race is. And this one happened in the pits, and it was actually just down to some bad luck.
It was. You see the mechanic put the wheel nut on. He hits it with the gun. There's already a wheel nut stuck in there. This cost the 16 car valuable seconds. They were definitely a fast car here today. Butch Leitzinger put together a tremendous drive, but this bobble in the pit lane cost them a lot of track position. Right now they run 3rd.
And it was it. If they would have got out in 2nd, the championship in terms of points, they would still have a shot. But if it finishes like this, it will be a clinch for McNish and Capello. So that was a huge moment. And as that car comes down the front straight, the driver behind the wheel, Alan McNish, giving it his all. And tell you what, Dindo Capello did as well, Brian.
Dindo Capello watched McNish flash by the front straightaway, checks the timing and scoring screen. 5 wins this couple has had on the season, Dindo. But with all the race wins you've had, you've won Le Mans, you've won Sebring, you have not won American Le Mans Series Championship. You guys win today. James Weaver finishes where he does. You win, you take the championship. But Alan seems to be struggling right now a little bit. The Guy Smith closing in. Is it tires?
Yeah, fortunately, at the moment it's only 5 minutes to go. Our gap is still around 10 seconds, which is, I would say, not very safe, but quite safe. If he would finish finish like this would be perfect for us, but we have to see what the Dyson team will do before then.
To take this championship, along with all the other accolades that you have in your career, to take this championship, what would it mean?
Yeah, for me, would be very, very important to win this championship, even though I think in 2000, when they won all the races with Alan, we both got champion, but you know, the old rules was a little bit strange, and in 2002, I lost the championship winning more race than Tom. Then, you know, just because in one race we didn't score point in Sears Point when we split. And I think probably I deserve this championship sooner or later.
He says, hey guys, I've won enough races. I deserve a championship this time around. Good luck, buddy.
Well, of course, the old rules he alluded to was the qualifying driver would get extra points for pole, and that's what separated him at that stage. Twice, runner-up, and boy, this would mean a ton. And speaking of runner-up, Guy Smith just turned a 108.2, the margin down to under 8 seconds, but also 3 minutes to go.
3 minutes.
Not enough.
That's a tall order at this stage of the game, but Dindo Capello's absolutely right. He does deserve a championship. In his heart, he believes he's won 2 already. Just the quirkiness of the rules have stopped him from actually getting the crown at the season finale in the banquet. But right now, Guy Smith can now see Alan McNish, and that really gives the driver a lot more drive. He's going to get his head down. He's not going to give up until he sees that checkered flag today.
Now, when we were talking about the shell move of the race, you also had a thought on one, and it was a strategy call.
The strategy call by the number 2 car by pitting Alan McNish as soon as he got in the fuel window and not taking tyres. That was really the key. They really played it safe in terms of a yellow flag not hurting their ability to win today. And this champion team now running the North American Audi factory effort has really come a long way over the years. Brad Kettler just runs a tremendous operation there now, and Dave Mirage just gives the boys everything they need, and they've learned a lot, and they are now the best in the business.
The margin under 6 seconds the last time by. Smith a 108.3, McNish a 110.3. 2 seconds gone in that lap itself. And boy, it's going to be interesting to see. But as you said, even if he catches him, passing him,
Alan won't want it to get too close, though, because if he gets a sniff on him and then there's traffic, then Alan's going to have to make a move. He's going to have to take a chance. He'd like that gap not to get under about 3 or 4 seconds as we now come down to about a minute and a half to go. I don't think he's going to see the white flag this lap. I think there's going to be one more run to the start-finish line.
And as we're watching this compelling chase for the overall
yes, he does.
lead, white flag. White flag is out. I just want to remind you in the P2 category,
Lap, Alan, last lap.
Duma up by 50 seconds plus over Bernard. In GT1, Sarazan up by
5.0.
a few seconds now with some breathing room over the number 4 Corvette. And Johnny Mollem in the 62 Ferrari leads the team car in GT2.
That was a big break there for Alan McNish. If he had been about 5 seconds earlier crossing the start-finish line, he would not have seen the white flag. They try and determine by the race pace what lap times they're doing when they're going to throw that white flag, and he was about 5 seconds underneath the lap, so that's why they threw the white flag on that lap. But Guy Smith is just going to keep pushing. Right now, no traffic in front of Alan McNish. He's looking good.
You can see Smith just throwing that car around into Moss. It was all corrections as he is giving it everything he has to try. But Alan McNish into turn 8 at the end of the Andretti straightaway. 2 corners to go for McNish and Capello, and a clinch in the championship if it finishes as it is. McNish onto the front straight, comes to the wall, and the guy who's going to love this the most is Dindo. He gets his championship, assuming that Smith comes through. He did. The final margin, though, 2.7 seconds. Smith was flying, but look at Dindo.
He is a happy boy. He finally gets it. But remember, he doesn't need to trip over. He's got to finish those last 2 races along with Alan McNish, so he needs to still get the job done all the way to Laguna Seca.
Yeah, it's a really great day for us. Especially, we need more advantage in the championship. Such a highly tight point. So it's a really good result for us, for Porsche. The key to success today. Well, we basically decided not to really run past the other guys, just focus on our race, get a clear run without touching anybody and being touched. Anything else, we just stayed out of trouble and
Capello claimed their American Le Mans Series driver title for Audi in Mosport. At the Petit Le Mans earlier this month, they ran the Audi win streak to 9 straight P1 victories. And today at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, they will try to become the first team to win every race of the season. Welcome to the beautiful Monterey Peninsula as Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca once again hosts the season finale for the American Le Mans Series. It's the Monterey Sports Car Championships.
Well, here we are just moments before the start of the final race of the season from Laguna Seca. And for Audi, there is one clear target: to finish the season undefeated. Like at the Little Le Mans, 2 European teams have come to compete from LMS and Zytac and Creation Autosportif. They're competing and they're starting on the front row. Pole position went to Stefan Johansson. Well, there was a first problem for Pirot, who had to stop because they found a small box loose under his feet.
We don't need to remove the nose. We don't need to remove the nose.
The number 1 Audi, they took the occasion to change the nose cone, looking for just where the problem was. And there you'll see it. That caught under Pirot's feet, obviously. Not easy to drive in those sort of circumstances.
It's okay, it's in! On! Nose on! Good, get the nose on, guys, come on! Nose on! Come on, guys, hustle.
Precious seconds ticking away as Pirot comes out of the pits and back into the race. But now he's a lap down. And if the news wasn't bad enough for the number 1 Audi, McNeish was involved in an accident. As there you see, a rather unorthodox way of coming down the Big Dipper at Laguna Seca. And as we'll see in the replays, it was what we'll call a misunderstanding with Harold Prima.
I don't know how much damage, but he moved over me as I was moving into the corner.
2 spins in a row for McNeish. And backing down the corkscrew. We'll see a close-up of his front wing. There you can see the damage. He's got to come into the pits as well. see the damage up close and personal to the nose cone. It's going to require changing that front right in particular. What a disaster for the Audi team. First Piero into the pits, rejoining a lap down. And now they have to set about changing that nose. And there you can see it's not like a Formula One pit stop, is it? In and out, change the nose cone, refuel, all 4 tyres done in 15 seconds. That is a real penalty for McNeish. Now they've got that back in as we have a look at just what happened.
McNeish heading out. Watch it here, Dorsey, heading into the corkscrew.
Up the hill to the corkscrew. Of course, Alan McNeish goes to the inside, but oh no, actually, you know, he blamed that on Premat, and I don't think that's Premat's fault at all. Premat was trying to respond to the 2 cars in front of him, trying to get to the inside. But look, now the spin. McNeish spins and takes the 6 Porsche to the gravel trap.
You can see all the junk on the track, and as he was going to throttle with all of that torque on a downhill grade with all of that junk, it just got around on him again. There's another look at it, watching the back, Dorsey.
Now 87, the blue car, moves to the inside to try to get underneath the Aston Martin. Of course, by that time, McNeish thought he had the door open and they make contact. But I don't blame that on Harold Premat.
I don't blame it. Yeah, that to me looks like a racing incident. I mean, and then there's the follow-up again, just that downhill slope and all that stuff. And it really messed up the Porsche a bit. Another angle.
Of course, this is after contact has been made. And of course, now watch McNeish in the 2. He tries to come down the hill, gets on the power, too much, no grip, spins. That takes the 6 off into the gravel trap. No contact between the 2 cars.
As you can see, a furious McNeish into the pits for a stop-go penalty. Well, surely all hope of victory for the Audi team today vanished when he was called into the pits. But nothing is impossible, particularly for an Audi R10. And sometimes you need just a little luck. That's exactly what happened with so many yellow flags. Somehow the R10 was still on the lead lap. Well, the Scotsman, he had to deal with fuel as well after a risky strategy. He was under plenty of pressure trying to hold on from Lucas Luhr.
So the situation here, this is an all-or-nothing gamble for McNeish and Capello in the number 2 Audi, but Audi has that extra bullet in the chamber with Piero right there.
Yeah, there's no risk at all. I mean, like I said, Piero's car will win if McNeish does not. Benassian is in 3rd, is so far back there's no way they'll catch up. The question now just becomes for McNeish, pride, can he get it to the finish line?
Well, you know, I think they've got 7 class wins on the season, which is a record. Anyway, this would be an 8th for McNeish and Capello, and that would be very sweet. But it wouldn't be a bad thing either for Piero and Biela to end up with their 3rd win of the season either.
Well, down here at the Audi camp, the word is just slow Alan down. They're just like waving their hands, try and slow the pace down, just try and get it to the finish. And after I came off the interview with Dindo Capello, he said, yes, I can certainly save more fuel by rolling the car into the corners. Just like a gasoline-powered engine, when you just come off the gas, particularly with a diesel, it just shuts your fuel delivery down. That's where you can save fuel. And with a 20-second lead, Alan can afford to maybe do that over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, certainly short shift, don't run as many RPM, get out of the throttle and coast. Now you can coast all the way down this hill. This is downhill out of the corkscrew. You can coast all the way to pit lane from there in neutral. You don't have to put any gas on because it's that steep a hill.
But as you said.
But then there's the other side of the fence, which has got to climb it back up.
Climb it to get to, yeah, exactly. And we're monitoring, folks. We're going to keep our monitors on the 2 Audis, so if you hear radio chat.
Yeah, I know that.
Obviously, obviously.
They just heard me say that half of the thing was downhill, put the clutch in the coast. I doubt it.
Well, he came by in that lap of 21.4, so he's definitely backed it off.
And 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left.
2 minutes exactly right now left in the season, so this lap and one more. Yeah, there it is. We get official word now. White flag next time by, Dorsey.
Boy, and then you really worry about going up that hill. Once you get to turn 5, as we showed on the track map earlier, it's due uphill till you get to the crest, the butte, where you can fall off of that the corkscrew and coast around down.
And just so you know, in P2, Lure is in front of Bernard, 7 in front of 6, so that would, if that were to finish like that, be a co-championship for Lure and Massa.
Can he make it up that hill one more time, Greg? That's the question.
Yeah, he's got to do it, yeah, this time in one more, absolutely correct.
He's made it this time.
Okay, I only want on to reserve at turn 6.
Just went to reserve in turn 6, which is where you begin to climb the hill. Now, does it have 2.2 miles left in it?
I remember his last lap, just for reference here, 21.4. He's got to be backing it way off that. And Pirro just ran a 21.2 that last time, way off the pace. I don't know if that's traffic.
Well, everybody's 21 because Manasseh did a 21.6.
Yeah, well, here we go.
One more time. There is the white flag.
24.6. So McNish now 3 seconds slower. Boy, doing everything he can to make this lift.
This he'll make easily. This is Pirro as he comes onto the front stretch. That's the distance between first and second. He won't catch Allen if he doesn't run out of fuel, not with that distance. But McNish has got to climb the hill one more time.
In GT1, Sarrazin, Barretto, O'Connell, 1, 2, 3. That should give easily.
Car looks slow right there.
Yeah,
that is turn 5.
Boy, he is
uphill now. Whatever he's got to clear this hill. Build speed, turn 6, flat out. Oh, he brakes for 6.
He's really taking it easy.
If he can make it to the top of this crest, he's in. Or it'll be close. Made it to there.
There it is. Now just coaster all the way down and have enough to give it that last gains from 11 to the checkered flag. Boy, tense stuff right here, but for McNish and Capello, if they can do it, extending their record of wins in a season, class wins in a season for a pairing, and bringing with a win Audi, the R10 TDI, that perfect record. Here we go, last time out of 11. He's got enough. He's pumping. Look at that. He's waving to the crew. He said, "You did it. You gave it to me. We made it happen." And there it is. He has done it. McNish and Capello, 8th win of the season for that pairing.
Well, let's take a little flashback, because after seeing how McNish and Capello won the 2006 title, it's just too hard to forget about that amazing career of the Audi R8. After the historic Sebring success, Audi North America decided to enter one R8 for the McNish-Capello duo at a completely new track at the Houston complex. However, it was James Weaver that grabbed pole position, and there were even 2 Porsches in front of the Audis at the start of the grid.
Flag is out. Weaver in the Dyson Lola leads them down, and everybody at this point, Calvin, smartly looking to go single file and not try and do anything too rash too early and get themselves in trouble right off the bat. Oh, except right there, the Intersport car for a moment tried to go too wide, and I think the Aston Martin there recognized that, let them slot in. Smart driving really so far.
It really was. The chief stood before the green flag today, said, "Guys, I really need you to space out. Try and give 3 to 4 car lengths between each other when you come to the green." Typically, race car drivers, they don't want to give up any track position. I'm surprised it was as clear as it was.
Out of turn 4 into turn 5. Left-hander right here. A lead into turn 6. This is actually, Calvin, a very quick corner.
It really is. They've eased the apex of that turn, and we see Weaver out front right now. Dumas really putting the pressure on. These guys were extremely close in qualifying here yesterday. Just a few hundredths of a second separated them, and about the same right now on the racetrack. Masson follows in third, followed by Capello in the Audi.
Right behind that group is the number 12 entry. That is the car currently being driven right off the line by Chris McMurray, who did a great job in qualifying as well. And here we go, back into the chicane.
Oh, Weaver locks him up.
Weaver.
Very bumpy there. James got it back together. That may have flat spotted a tyre. He has enough experience. If you lock up a tyre, you need to release that wheel, try and get it rolling again. We're on board looking at the backside of the Weaver car, the number 16 Dyson Lola. You see Dumas probing, looking for a way by. It's Porsche versus the Lola right now, and Porsche in a different category, but extremely fast during these early laps.
Great onboard shots, and they're running right there through that section. A huge bump midway through that corner, and then right here you see the braking marks on the track. Very sketchy. That means bumpy.
And very close here now with the Audi of Capello, the R8. He's really starting to put the pressure on Sasha Masson here. Surprised that Masson doesn't have the pace of the other Porsche Spyder right now. And Capello really strong here on these street circuits. You can really see the bumps there. Look at the driver fighting this. One of the drivers said it's like being on a mechanical bull trying to wrestle a car around this racetrack.
So watch Masson's car up front, the Porsche just dancing everywhere. Back end stepping out under braking, of course. Big problems. Capello right there with the two Porsches here. Are we seeing Dumas maybe being the hare and Sasha laying back a little bit, conserving?
Possibly, run by Roger Penske. He's the supreme strategist in motorsports. They may be driving a different race car right now in terms of what they have in the setup. And they have Dumas really putting the pressure on the leader, and Masson just sitting there. We talked earlier in the show about maybe these teams can do it on one stop. Maybe Masson is running the same fuel mixture right now as the 7 car, trying to save a little bit of fuel in the early laps.
How about tires at this scenario? Would you have started, if you're looking to double stint, send one car out to double stint, the first couple of, the first 2 stints, and the other car going for pure speed right now, and then double stinting later?
Well, that's possible, Greg. When we talk about double stinting the tires, the key in this form of racing, when they come and do a pit stop, whilst the refueling is being done, you may not service the car. So if you can double stint the tires in terms of not changing them during that pit stop, you save an enormous amount of time in the pit stop itself. That gains you track position ultimately.
By Michelin's estimation, sometimes up to 25, even 30 seconds, and that is huge.
Well, despite all those difficulties, and because the two Porsches had some technical problems, Alec Manish finished first overall, but with a little luck, the R8 was beaten by the Porsche's LMP2 for the overall standing in Mid-Ohio, but won the P1 class anyway, as we head directly to Lime Rock for the official last race of the R8. What an emotional event, with the Palmares and the names of all the drivers who drove the R8 written on the body. Again, at the beginning of the race, it was not easy for McNish, and the two Porsches are still very quick, fighting for first overall. We'll head back with McNish with an onboard camera after 1 hour of the race, and his fantastic battle against Timo Bernard.
And Ralph, we have a battle for the overall lead and the class lead mix-up as well, and it looks like Timo Bernhard has got around McMurray. That should put him back in the overall lead. McMurray second and McNish third. Top 3 overall, remembering, of course, that Timo Bernhard running the Porsche in the P2 class.
This is awesome stuff. What a job by Chris McMurray. He's the defending champion here at Lime Rock in the P2 category. And now it gets really tight. McNish looks to the inside. He's got to give it up. The Corvette gets out of the way. Good job by Alan McNish there, not forcing the issue. That was going to get ugly.
Boy, and coming up just to complicate things a little bit, the number 6 Porsche is coming up as well. Sasha Masson still behind the wheel of that. This is the battle for the P1 lead, the LMP1 lead. McMurray doing everything he can to keep McNish behind him. McNish looking inside, outside, trying to swing around the outside. This is that tight spot, but he's cleanly through, Calvin.
He did, and McMurray had to have the lap before with the Porsche Spyder, and now the other Porsche Spyder on recovery mode here. Lucas Lurr trying to recover from that early problem. Still Sasha Masson actually in the 6th machine, but he's a few laps down. Chris McMurray doing a great job there. He didn't give it away easily, but recognized that Alan McNish had a faster car, and Alan's now looking to chase down the overall leader, which is the P2 number 7.
Yeah, serious kudos to Chris McMurray for that job he did holding on to that John Richard Lola. Nicely done. On board now with McNish whistling down the front straight in the R8, and that pass, keep in mind, putting him back into the P1 lead, and maybe on track for this car to retire with that 50th win in ALMS competition. Just remarkable here. Oh, the number 16 of Weaver, finally, a lot of laps down, but coming out into pit lane from the paddock, and over an hour in terms of time lost, and of course that would be an awful lot of laps considering they're clicking them off in the 50-second range here, but they got that car fixed.
It's going to be tight here. You have to complete 70% of the distance of the overall leader winner of the race to get points here, so this is why the Dyson team are really working hard to try and get Weaver out there, but it's going to be very tight with that 70% mark. I'm not sure they can make it even if they run the rest of the distance.
In another life, that's called a marble, and there's lots of them around the track. We're on board now with your new overall race leader, Alan McNish, the number 2 Audi, and you take a look. They got a great graphic scheme on the car. You see the names on the red right side there. That's all 18 drivers that have won in this car. They also have the names of the 23 tracks where wins have happened, and this is how he got the lead car.
Traffic up ahead, heading down the front straightaway, down in the Big Bend. Timo Bernhard trying to deal with the traffic. He gets hung up there a little bit, and then he drops a wheel. McNish just hovering, just waiting, and then he gets the run to the inside. This is a risk. Oh, look at the Panos. Nearly squeezes Alan McNish. Then he sees him, gets out of the way. That'll be David Brown behind the wheel of the 50. Then he slides inside of the 22 car, Justin Marks. Here we see it again, a little bit more in slow-mo. Alan McNish dives in there. Timo Bernhard tries to respond, but it's too late. And on board with the 7 car, this is Timo Bernhard. He's looking at the traffic. He's trying to open the door first. Dealing with the 16 car, I think, sliding down the inside. James Weaver on a tear. Many laps down. See the Panos there, nearly clobbers Timo's side of the car. Then he gets hung up. Timo thinks go to the outside, tries to flick back. McNish fills the gap.
Talk about threading a needle for McNish. That was inside, outside, inside, outside. Absolutely brilliant. And there you see the margin. That is the margin, folks, for the overall race lead. And, of course, it's the 2 leaders in the 2 prototype divisions. And we're coming up on 1 minute remaining, about the time they exit the diving turn. It'll be 1 minute left in this race. McNish, the lead last time was 17 seconds for McNish. Probably this and another lap to go, we would imagine. And don't want to jinx anything, but what an amazing result for this car and these drivers, certainly, to go out with a win, not a class win, an overall win, and in fighting form, just right down to the very end. And I understand that Lee Scott was going to be a little gruff about
He was. England got booted from the World Cup this weekend, and Alan saying, serves you right. He said, well, at least we were there, mate. Scotland weren't even there. He said, well, we would have been. But the team manager for Scotland realised it was a 14-night minimum on the hotel, and he didn't want to pay the bill. So, true Scott there, all thrifty.
Deep pocket, short arms, they say. But meanwhile, McNish, white flag, here it comes, onto the front straight. He's got a lot of traffic, and that 1 lap with traffic.
Okay, white flag is out. That's for you. 1 more lap.
That's got to be nerve-wracking. He gets through some of it. It's an incredible story. Here is Duma leading in P2, 2nd overall, picking up the white flag as well.
Big Bend working down through the gears. Oh! Wow, this is it. This is the GT1 battle. Johnny O'Connell, can he make a move here?
He's got this and a lap, because I believe they were already through, and he's chucking. He's looking the inside. Into no name, not there.
Lammy defends, now up through the chicane. Very hard to pass between here and the start-finish line. Traffic ahead. Will it play a factor?
We heard radio chatter that the 007 indeed had run off its tires. Here we go, McNish and the R8, the 50th win for the this remarkable car in American Le Mans. And here we go. Oh, so close.
Wow.
Oh, the 009 of Lammy, but the margin.
Scoreboard doesn't have nothing. Nice drive, man. Great drive.
Well, we show it as 3/100ths, 33 1/1000ths of a second.
Look at the champion team. That is awesome. That is awesome. For that R8, great sports car to get another victory. Look at Alan McNish. This is a big one.
At Salt Lake City, after 2 podiums, the Ferrari 430 GT was finally able to win a race, a first in ALMS. At its wheel was Mika Salo and Jaime Melo. Behind, not really a surprise, Bergmeister and Long, and Van Overbeek and Hensler. And there was a second win in a row for Salo and Melo in Portland, a third win in Mosport, with Johnny Molam and Stefan Ortelli making Rizzi Competizione team the champion. In Road America, Bergmeister and Long won their second win as we head straight to Petit Le Mans.
Through the S's at the moment, and there's contact between that car we were just talking about and very close Chris Dyson, and he's right at the bottom of the hill. You don't want to be there. That's Bergmeister battling for second place. He does a great job in getting off to driver's left there. Your Bergmeister now, I think a little tap by one of the prototypes, who is trying to keep out of the way of the battle coming through without losing too much time on Kellner's ahead of him. Here's the overhead shot, and it's the race leader who was coming up to lap him, Jeremy.
And it's so difficult going down through the S's. Minasian got through okay. Stephanie Johansson was following him, and maybe Bergmeister didn't see him. That's what it looked like from that replay. It's awfully difficult to get past the slower traffic on that part of the racetrack.
Just look at the dirt off the line. That's red Georgia clay. Oh, Duncan Dayton very close to him as well as Chris Dyson there.
In the early stages of the race, it's not too bad there. There's an onboard view there from your Bergmeister. You know, he doesn't really have much option. I think, though, he didn't really see there were two cars there. I think he just saw the one.
Always difficult. They always say it's more difficult for the leader to get through because you don't see the yellow flags. But quite clearly there, Jorg not seeing Johansson, getting a tap from the car, and the following cars, both the Porsches and indeed Chris Dyson and now, who did we put in the... it's James Weaver in the 16 car, and the 16 car already well up the field. Let's in just a moment's time, we'll go down to the pit lane, and Doug Kelly, who can have a word with Pat Long, who's the co-driver to that 31's car, which is back and running and about to... Well, that's the Lister car that goes by.
And here's a replay of Ralph Kellner's accident. The GT2 leader of the race retiring. And there was also trouble for Van Overbeek in the Flying Lizard Porsche, as we hear from his pit crew.
I don't know, I've caught up with Brian Wilman. Brian's just got out of the car. Chris McMurray is already in the car. They're looking around the back there. What happened there, Brian?
New loud, strange noise and a loss of power. So I'm guessing we have a crack in an exhaust pipe somewhere.
Neither is good news.
Interrupt you there because we've got the 31 Peterson White Lightning car in second place in GT2, spinning in a bizarre spot coming down the hill towards 10. We've also seen it's a puncture, it's a left rear puncture for Jorg Bergmeister. No look at all for that car this weekend. Meantime, the leader in GT2 is in the pit lane. Dominic Farnbacher was trying to stay ahead of Bergmeister. Frank Kitty will go back up into second place and in fact will take the lead whilst these cars are in the pits. Bergmeister unlucky that the tyre has gone and the carcass is all over the road just before the top of the hill. Unlucky that it's gone, but very lucky that it went so close to the pit lane entry. Meantime, we've got the Alex Job car in the pit lane, and down there with Curry Foot and the boys is Jeremy Shaw.
Indeed, so the driver change has been made. I think that's Robin Liddell just got into the car, and they're changing the Michelin tyres now on this number 23 machine. Everything. The car is fired up, and away goes Robin Liddell. So big drama here in GT2. Also looking back down the pit lane where I was moments ago, the number 31 car is now onto pit lane. Also, the number 50 Penos was in a couple of moments ago. Sebastian Bourdais got out of that car. Scott Maxwell got in.
The tyre lays by, or the remnants of the tyre lays by the left-hand side of the track at the top of the hill, one of the fastest part of the circuit as Moreno Franchitti's just got through, and there's going to be a heck of a battle at the head of the field. Great job by Jorg Bergmeister. The whole tyre going down and then completely delaminating off the rim, and he's done a wonderful job to keep that car out of the wall. The left rear tyre disappearing, exit stage left, and Jorg throwing it into a spin at very high speed, but kept the car out of the wall. And that is the sort of driving and the sort of recovery that makes the difference between going home early and being in with a shout at the end of 10 hours. Unbelievable piece of driving. Now down in the pit lane, the work goes on that car. The left rear wheel is intact, but not coming up anytime soon, and Jeremy Shaw is in that pit.
Yeah, finally they got that left rear wheel off. The left front took a little bit of time to prise off as well. A lot of rubber build-up under the wheel arch. Now the cars are... and there goes Patrick Long.
back to Petit Le Mans with 29 laps to go. We're in the night now. Bergmeister and Long still lead despite their problems ahead of the Ferrari 430 GT of Marino Franchitti. But what a battle there was for third place as we head back to the live commentary.
And this is the number 21 of Bill Auberlen right behind Sebastian Bourdais in the Panos. This is the battle for third in GT2, and oh, he's making the big move underneath into sixth. The brakes on that BMW so solid, he gets underneath, and Bourdais, I think, probably wisely gives it up. Now Bourdais cuts down underneath. No, not going to be able to get it done.
The BMW,
but power now.
Really, really good. That BMW is awesome, and it's Bill Auberlen you're talking about. Although, look at the Panos, big horsepower, muscles his way by.
V8 now. Thing is, can Bill stay close enough? There goes the 31 coming along as well.
And
trying to get the mix put up, and there's one of the Corvettes in GT1. Here comes Bill right back down underneath. And as the Corvette came over, it balked Bourdais for a second, but he stayed with it, and Bill decided, nah, wait and fight another day here. But boy, here he goes. He's looking down the inside. 12, Dorsey.
BMW superior in the handling and braking department. Panos has got the horsepower.
That was a great sequence. Oh, no. Watch Bill coming in on the brakes here.
He'll come in and he'll get the run in the corners. When he gets up here to turn 3, he's going to be all over the back of Bourdais. Watch, when they brake for this corner, the BMW is superior on this end of the racetrack. Much better through these S's.
And that was Bergmeister in the 31 now, who obviously with a lot of pit stops during that long caution period. He's behind it. What a great shot right there. And here's what you're talking about. Auberlen now in the twisty stuff all over Bourdais. Ooh, wiggle by Bourdais.
And that could be all it takes right now. The run toward turn 6, Bourdais might get defensive. He's not leaving much room. Auberlen will look to the inside on the brakes, but he's getting past himself, so he can't do a thing. Yes, he can.
That was the Aston Martin, and he went right by. He just followed the Aston Martin through the gap, who shot underneath Bourdais as well. Bill Auberlen, pretty savvy piece of driving to say, I got to block it back.
Guys, the most nervous guy down in pit road is actually Dale White. He's standing here watching our broadcast on the monitor with his head in his hands, going, guys, Bergmeister is caught up in the middle of this. This is our championship right here. Jorg, use your head. He doesn't want any part of this. This battle is more than intense. It is awesome, guys.
And Bourdais just blew by Auberlen on the run, but watch, is Auberlen down inside? He is! No, that's the Audi! Where's Bill? There's Bill!
There's Bill, but
so that meant 3 abreast down into 10, Dorsey.
Watch the Panos. It's only got horsepower. That's its biggest advantage. And this is a place, but look, he's getting beat up on. All the prototypes coming through on the inside.
And that cost him, he had to get offline and get out of it, and that gave Auberlen maybe the break he needs now, heading into the twisty stuff where he could gap him a little bit. Not enough horsepower to make up for it.
That's what he needs to do. He needs to make it from turn 1 all the way back to the back straightaway. That's where he's good.
And there's another prototype between those guys, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. And that's that glare you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what it's like. Wow. You're looking right over your mirror, you're just blind. In the meantime, the prototypes can mess up Auberlen on his good end of the racetrack, too. So if they get to the back straightaway equal, Bourdais will win.
That is the 27 Horog LMP2 entry that makes the move by. Currently in the hands of Eric Van de Poele. And, wow, what a great sequence. You're back on board the 50 with Sebastian Bourdais. There's Auberlen. Yeah. That's exactly what you talked about.
Yeah, he got held up. Watch this now. Watch this Panos eat this BMW alive on the straightaway. Bills gets a good run off the corner, but it won't make any difference. This is ponies, folks. This is horsepower.
The V8 in the Panos and the straight 6 in the BMW.
Here I come.
Handling versus power. And but there's somebody else coming by. There's the number 3 Vet.
The Vet stymies that run.
That's Bourdais, that orangey headlight. The GT cars run a yellow tint to the headlight, and Bill able to get through it there, and down through 12.
Boy,
there's more stuff behind him.
Yeah, the traffic's messing this race up for these two guys, but there's nothing they can do about it. It's helping Bill Auberlen because he can corner better or as good as any other car out there. He just doesn't run down the straightaway as quick as some of them.
By the way, one thing I'm not sure we've updated, I just want to make sure we get it in. The number 37 Intersport Lola is back out. Liz Halliday now behind the wheel. They did get, I believe, to that 75% mark. So now we're going to keep track of that in terms of the point scenario. But obviously they're well down in the order right now.
Yeah, they were past 75% when they had their problems. So they're in good shape for as far as getting points goes. It's just a disappointing situation to be 5 laps up on and then lose that.
That was the Zytek that just shot by. I'm going to go back on board with the Panos in the hands of Sebastian Bourdais.
And look at Auberlen is checked out. He's way on up there now. Like I say, that BMW handles as good as anything out there. In the corners, it's really, really stout. It's not as quick in a straight line, kind of boxy. And Panos is really good in a straight line, but definitely doesn't have the handling potential.
Well, that's one of the issues that they've been dealing with at BMW is the big frontal area in the eye and that straight six.
The view forward from Sebastian Bourdais' car, he's just lost a position. He's down in 4th in the GT2 battle. Bill Oberlin is the car ahead of him by about a second. That car was the leader. That's the 23 Alex Job Racing Porsche. They've had their problems, a new steering arm put onto that, and you heard Bill Oberlin having to lift there as he tries to get up alongside the 23 car, which at the moment is driven by Robin Liddell, and the Scotsman does give way and let him through. He's not in this battle for 3rd position on the podium. Now, how far back is Sebastian Bourdais? Half a second across the line. Look, there is Bill Oberlin just ahead of him, coming down through the S's. You can see the red and black Yokohama coloured PTG BMW, and he's almost within striking distance as Bourdais rides the curbs on the outside, almost loses it behind Robin Liddell, gets it back, big armfuls of opposite lock down towards turn number 6. He'll go inside the Scotsman here, will he? No, he won't, although Robin did leave him room, in fairness, and does again, doesn't cut across his bows, left at least a car's width between himself and the apex of turn number 7. Heavens, that Porsche's quick in a straight line, punching out of there. Robin got on the power very early indeed. Bourdais losing a little bit of ground, and he wants to get back on board. Just a little tap of the brakes by Robin Liddell there. That's not because he's chickening out down the straight. He's making sure the pads are gripping the disc before he goes down into this corner. And there is the leader of GT2 putting a lap on the 4th place car. That is Jörg Bergmeister, a battered but unbowed 31 Peterson White Lightning Porsche heading into the darkness, and Oberlin is pulling away in 3rd place. He's 2 laps behind Marino Franchitti in 2nd, who's a couple of laps behind Bergmeister leading this race. Over 107 mile an hour average, including 6 long pace car periods. And Bill Oberlin will be looking behind. His team will be telling him exactly what's going on and who's behind him. It's going to be Jörg Bergmeister, the leader of the category, who will be next to come by him. Oh, right across the exit curb of 5 there by Oberlin. Quite simply, it looks like, well, now, did he get a little push there from that Sebastian Bourdais Panos, which had closed right up to him? We've got an on board with him as well. We might get a little look at that as he went through. No, clipped the curb on the inside of 10, and that's what spun him around.
Certainly didn't appear to be any contact, did there? From 2 looks at that from completely different angles. One of them on board that number 21 BMW. It didn't look like there was any contact, but he certainly was under severe pressure. And the jubilation down there in the Panos pit.
Yeah, it's good, good at Jeanette jumping up and down in the background. David Brabham's seen it all and just shook his head. Well, let's get a look from Sebastian Bourdais' car coming down the hill to turn 10. The car ahead is the 3rd place car in the category. Turns in all right. Watch him hit the curb on the left-hand side, and it has just taken a little bit too much curb. Let's go down to Joe Bradley with Tom Milner in the PTG pit. Here's Jörg Bergmeister coming through turn 12 to take the GT2 crown. Well, what a eventful couple of hours, or last few hours it's been for that car. 9 hours 17 minutes the race time, and they look down and out halfway through the race. They've fought their way back. Franchitti will be 2nd for the Ricci Competizione Ferrari.
It's the Monterey Sports Car Championships.
Bergmeister comes to California just 4 points behind Johannes van Overbeek, who has seen a healthy points lead deteriorate with no wins and just 3 podium finishes during that same time frame. Well, we talk about the problems that Johannes van Overbeek has had recently. They surface again here at Laguna Seca in qualifying. No clutch means no lap time, and that means he'll have to start well back in the GT2 field. But Johannes, how do you take all that bad luck, especially this weekend, put it behind you, and focus on the championship?
Well, first I'd like to say hi to Sarah and Brody. you know, we just have to look forward. We can't look back, and we had some last couple races. We've had some bad luck, some self-inflicted, some not. So we just need to go like hell today and hope that luck is in our favor, and the crew does a great job. My teammate Wolf, I'm sure, will do a great job. I need to do a great job, and we'll see, you know, where we end up.
Bergmeister 2006 is a lot like 2005. You start a championship run at Road America, and now we come to Laguna Seca. It's within reach. What do you need to do to capitalize on it and bring it home, Jorg?
Obviously, a win would be nice. That's what we did last year here, so I'm trying to do that again. Otherwise, I think we just have to finish. If we finish second, there has to be one car in between Johannes and our car, and then we still win the championship. And so far, the car ran really well. During all practice sessions, we were always in the top 3, so I'm pretty happy.
One of our points contenders at GT2 is in, Cal.
Well, this is huge. Johannes van Overbeek brought the number 45 car in. There's been damage to the front end. One of these radiators, which certainly have been a bit suspect on these Porsches this year, has been damaged, has had to be replaced. This is costing the team a huge amount of track time under green flag conditions. They're going to need a big break here today if they're going to maintain that championship lead for Van Overbeek. The advantage now goes to the 31 car.
Of course, that 31 car, if this car can't get going, will clinch the manufacturer's championship at the 70% mark, which we talked about in the Pirelli storylines.
Well, the key is for Bergmeister to get the driver's championship. Now we're getting some reports that maybe the 45 got into the 19, the Radical, that we just didn't catch that part. See,
Vanderstuur, you see the spin.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah, look at the radiator. Look at the radiator on the Porsche just dumping. No doubt about it. Evidence clear. It's the 45, still a flying lizard car in the pit lane.
Now it's a long stop. Now, take a look at the championship implications here in this car. And basically, the way that it worked out was obviously the Van Overbeek car, if they won, he was going to get the championship. Or if he finished just one spot behind Jorg, he would get the championship. Jorg, to win it, had to win, or he had to finish at least 2 spots ahead of the number 45. And right now, the longer the stop goes, the worse it is getting, Calvin. And for Van Overbeek, he must be awfully concerned.
Well, we head straight to the end of this battle. We're about 12 minutes from the checkered flag. And what a fight it was between Bergmeister and the number 31 Porsche against Mika Salo's Ferrari 430 GT. The German was looking for his second title in a row, while for Salo, victory meant the Constructors' title for the newcomer Rizzi Competizione.
The final GT2 checkered flag of the season is truly under contest as overall race leader McNish works through the battle. There is Jorg Bergmeister. Right behind him in the red Ferrari is Mika Salo. There is nothing between them except the occasional faster prototype. The war is on.
Traffic has been playing a great part, and so far Bergmeister being able to use that traffic to keep the Ferrari behind him. I don't think he can do it for much longer.
Boy, take a look at the last few laps in terms of the margins here as it's come down, and now there's nothing. And clearly Salo is quicker, but as the old adage goes, catching and passing is a different thing, and Jorg is driving brilliantly right now. And the problem for Jorg, he also has that Porsche up front. Here comes Salo, trying to straight line down the inside. He's there, but if he overshoots the corner, Bergmeister cuts down underneath. Not going to happen.
Come up the inside. inside, but there will be no way he's got the speed. The Ferrari's the faster car.
York trying to figure out a way. Boy, he's staying right with him, though, Dorsey.
Well, he could punt him. That'd be one way.
Well, that's the Pro Barn, but...
And, of course, the Ferrari's been using a little of that all during the day.
That's true. I'm not sure that's how Jorg works in that method right now, so...
He doesn't need to work in that method. He's won his championship. He's the hottest commodity in road racing. That driver right there has won everything this year.
He does, yeah. And I mean, Jorg's stock has done nothing but go up. Ironically, since Porsche let him go as a factory driver, his stock has just gone through the roof.
Yeah, they cut him loose as a factory driver, and then he went and beat all the factory drivers in 2 series. So hats off to Jorg, yeah, buddy.
Yeah, and I mean, when the fight was obvious there, he did let him go. And, I mean, that was a smart thing. He's got the championship. And
well, in essence,
if he had let him go, I think eventually the Ferrari might have given him a nudge.
Yeah, he would. Asalo ran him down from 3 seconds back in 2 laps. And Jorg did a great job by using traffic and every means known to him to hold him back for 1 more lap. But the inevitable was coming.
And that performance by the Ferrari is why Alex Joe, whose car currently runs 3rd in GT2 right now, made a quick comment earlier in the weekend. He said, we're happy to be as fast as we are with the Porsches because that Ferrari is virtually a GT1 car. I mean, it is something. When it's hooked up, it is something.
I think it's been on the pole the last 5 races in a row or something. It's an awfully fast car, no question. It's got a great team and great drivers.
Congratulations, Renault. Yeah, thank you to the whole team. Right now I'm a little frustrated that we didn't win. It was really close, but I tried everything. But the Ferrari was just too quick, and a couple of races ago, the whole team didn't even think about the championship. We were like 40 points down, and now we won it again. A team effort, thanks to Patrick, who did the team with me without him.
Welcome back to part 2 of the American Le Mans season review for 2006, as we have another look now at the LMP2 category. Having burst onto the scene at Laguna Seca last year in the last race of the season, the Porsche RS Spyder was the big favourite. But we'll see from the very first races of the season, things didn't always go according to plan for the Penske team. Back at the Sebring ring for race 1, and the 2 Spyders were far quicker than the P1 Lola Dyson. They led right from the start, but unfortunately the problems were to arrive, starting with the number 7 Porsche, followed then by the number 6, as we join back the live commentary after just 16 laps. It was to be a nightmare for the Porsches.
Big development here, though, is number 7, Timo Bernhard, in that Porsche, who had been running so quick, 2nd overall just moments ago. Dorsey's last lap over 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Something's wrong.
Something went wrong, and he's either worked around on the switches or gotten some advice from the pits. It looks like the car's back up to speed. You see James Weaver, who's got by him right in front there, splashing by in the blue car, the Dyson. But all of a sudden, that car balked the 7. A look earlier on, you see him pulling off, so comes to a stop, getting out of harm's way, but obviously something there that he was able to fix with some consultation to the pits, I'm sure.
Hey guys, I just checked in with Jeff Swartout down here at Penske Racing. He said, we don't know, it just shut off. We don't know if he hit a switch, which, Dorsey, you know, over these bumps can be easy to do when you're flailing around in the cockpit. They don't know whether he hit a switch or not. Telemetry didn't tell him. Reset some switches on the back straight, fired it back up. Now it seems to be running okay.
Brian, you're right. This thing is sprung so stiff, it jumps all over the racetrack. When I drove the Audi R8, the problem I had was knocking the kill switch off all the time on a bump because there's not much compliance. You'll see these Porsches in the rough parts of the racetrack leaping off the racetrack completely. Obviously, the car shut down, able to re-go again.
Greg Lucas Luhr sits in his Porsche RS Spyder, and the crew going to work on it. This is anything but a routine stop. They are putting tires on it just as a precaution. What they're doing is loosening body work along the right side. They've already removed the nose of this car. It looks like they're going to remove the engine cowling as well. So obviously something in that car, probably electronics, that they need to look at. It's going to take removing these body panels to get a good look at it. This is going to be a lengthy stop. from the lead to pit lane. That's not what you want to see this early on, guys.
Well, Dorsey, this is exactly why you run Sebring. At Laguna, this car was absolutely bulletproof, but that is absolutely smooth.
You know, you and I went out on the course several times, Greg. We watched his car. It was not very compliant over the bumps. It was jumping up and down the air, like we said. That is not the way to win at Sebring. It just shakes the car to death. Whereas you look at the Audi, you look how smoothly, as we see right here, how smoothly it hits around the racetrack. Very compliant.
Well, we see the 7 car slow. Timo Bernard behind the wheel right now. We just spoke to his teammate Pat Long, and this car is slowed. That's a long way from the pit lane there. That's just coming out of turn 5 through turn 6. So
he's not slow. He's without power or drive anyway, it looks like.
Now, we did see one of the Porsches slow earlier in the race. I think with Timo behind the wheel, stopped on the back straightaway there to reset the computer, and it fired back up again. The 6 cars in the pit road also, so have to see if this is routine. Lucas Luhr behind the wheel.
They didn't stop that long ago.
No, so you're right. That was a puncher there. Right front looks like it's down. Just saw it flailing there as we got the other angle on that.
3, 2, 1, and change tires, change tires.
You hear Roger there. Good way to call the driver in is to count him down. Brian's there.
I'm looking for any damage to the right front. I don't see it, so I don't think he made contact with anybody, guys. But definitely, Calvin, that right front is toast. So they're looking around. Don't understand why it took that long, because they can work as soon as the car comes to a stop.
We got to take the body off.
It's like they couldn't get the jack to where it needed to be, and now they're saying they've got to take the body off. So I don't know what it is that they see, but I don't see anything here on the right front, no marks or anything. So we'll go around to the back and see if we can find out what the problem is there.
Well, certainly you wonder about damage, but you also, there's so much junk 7 hours into this race on the track.
Up in the air.
Yeah, he's feeling something other than just the right front being flat.
Guys, yeah, he's grabbing the suspension, specifically the left rear. I was looking at both the push rod, which is about the size of a baseball bat on this car. I was kind of surprised. And there's that damage that we had seen back here on the left rear earlier.
Left front.
Now they're looking left front. You heard on the radio to look at the left front, but everything looks nice and tight. Now they're saying the pits are closed. They're going to have a full course caution, but back underway.
Once again, the 7 entry is the car that has prompted this caution. Bernhard out of the car, parked right over. That's a tough area, the track, Gurney Bend. And let's get right back down to Chris Neville.
Well, being a racing car driver can be a lonesome job. Timo Bernhard sitting on the wall, his car out of the running. And now that leaves the only podium chance for Porsche and Penske is to be their second car still running, that of Massin and Luhr. They're currently sitting second behind the Intersport Racing Lola, shared by John Field, Liz Halliday and Clint Field. And here we see the Intersport Racing Lola. It's Clint Field taking over the wheel for the last stint of the race. Well, the troubles continued in Houston for the Penske and Porsches. After big hopes during qualifying, the James Weaver Dyson was on overall pole position ahead of the number 2 Spyder, Romain Dumas, and the P2 poleman ahead of Sasha Massin. The R8 Audi only 4th on the grid. The start of the race was quite unbelievable on this bumpy track. It was very tough for the Audi. And the battle at the front between Weaver and Dumas was also very hard. The Frenchman taking the lead with a fantastic maneuver. as here we are on board with Weaver. And we quit this battle for another one. Third place between Sasha Massin in third and Dindo Capello in fourth. The race is still a good one for Porsche. And Dumas, as he comes into the pits, is still leading. Timo Bernhard takes over the wheel and everything seems to be going okay. Until Bernhard has a battery problem and ultimately has to retire again.
On a problem as well, Greg. They had to shut the car off, but it looks like they've got some type of a battery issue. They've gone into what's considered the passenger compartment of this Porsche RS Spyder, and they have changed the battery, so this is going to be a lengthy stop. Obviously, just coming to pit road was probably going to hand the lead over to McNish in the Audi. This just adds more insult to the injury.
Well, they needed to pit anyway, so that was going to cost them the lead to McNish. We believe McNish is good on fuel. He should go the rest of the distance without problems. But right now, the 7, the problem has been fixed. So Timo Bernhard is back underway. They had a second place finish at Sebring. But we know with the R8 here for these 3 races, the 2 before Le Mans and the 1 following it, that Porsche really felt their chance of an overall victory is within these 3.
And the problems continued for Bernhard. Slowing totally on the track. He has to come into the pits yet again.
And problems continue for the number 7 Porsche. He's down in the pits again, Brian.
Problems all around pit road. The 37 is in as well. The 7 is in. They've changed the battery once again on the number 70, or on the number 7, Lucas Luhr behind the wheel. But the team also looking back in the back end underneath the engine compartment, grabbing components, shaking them, like perhaps something has come loose in the back.
Oh, and the number 6, who has had such a stellar run in the hands of Lucas Luhr in terms of outright speed, at an absolute crawl. And one wonders, Calvin, at this stage, we've seen the Dysons, this car, the 7. We've also seen the 37 entry that Brian alluded to. Is this track, the bumps, finally taking its toll?
Well, possibly. We believe it's an electrical issue with the 7 car, but the 6 car slowing on the racetrack. Now, both cars had an input shaft failure in the transmission at Sebring. Identical problem. They researched and dug deep into the cars after the race there and said it was the same problem. But right now, Lucas Luhr is stranded out on the racetrack. Now, this is what I'm talking about, Greg.
Yes.
This could be a full caution period. That 3 car needs to get in the pit lane.
Well, that gave the P2 category lead to the Intersport Racing Lola, which itself wasn't in the best of shape. A big exhaust problem with Clint Field at the wheel. He ended the race very slowly, but held on for a second win in a row for the American team. And it's Lola AER. So they won those fabulous crystal boots and also leadership in the overall category. The Porsches are only 3rd and 5th after hoping for an overall win. Welcome back, and revenge for the Porsches was to take place in Mid-Ohio. The team had worked hard improving the reliability of the Spyder and also fixed its transmission problems. And on the smooth Mid-Ohio surface, the 2 Spyders were at the front until a weight problem saw Dumas lose his pole position and start from the back of the grid. But Timo Bernhard, who did make the start, was quickly back at the type, and he was fighting against the Audi R8 of Alan McNish for the overall lead. Later on, the battle was to be between the 2 Porsches, Lucas Luhr in the number 6 and Romain Dumas in the number 7.
Lap 59, we're racing again. Here the two Porsches, Lucas Luhr, Romain Dumas. They're going to start fighting amongst themselves.
Well, isn't that interesting? There's the car that started in pole. There's the car that started last. The car in second place is the one who was 4/10 fastest in qualifying, but was underweight. It's come all the way through the field, and now it's asking questions of its teammate. Porsche haven't done too well at Sebring. They didn't do too well at Houston. Hey, what if one of these took the other one off now?
Yeah, that would be interesting. It wasn't Dumas, of course, who set the pole time. That honour fell to Timo Bernhardt himself, the man who started the car and just came through the field in about 3 laps. But he could not deal with Butch Leitzinger, could he, at the time? They had to wait for the pit stops to get ahead there. James Weaver's on board that Dyson Lola now, and Dindo Capello is between them, the Dyson car, and these two Porsches in third place, but quite a long way back, as we'll see in a minute, because already these Porsches are pulling out a huge gap, 4.7 seconds in the last lap.
Side by side, almost. Oh, now what is going to happen here?
No, he's lost it. He's lost it.
Well, yeah, but it didn't look too much like it. That was a battle. It was almost more that it was just about to happen.
Well, yes, I think he got the speed up. He's later on the brakes as they came up into turn 4 there, and that's just given him the edge. So through he goes into the lead in the number 7 car. We said it earlier. That's Romain Dumas at the wheel. That's the car that started last. It now leads.
And it's led before, of course, because it led at Houston. Then things went wrong. Will the Porsches be able to hold out this time? Well, it's certainly looking like that on the new asphalted track. Mid-Ohio racing, they say, can be dangerous. There's a lot of brickwork around this place as well, but those two are having to try and safely find their way through the field. There's an Aston Martin just in front of them, but it's Porsche Spyder from Porsche Spyder.
He's trying to go back.
They're going to have a little battle,
wow.
aren't they?
Well, I don't think Roger Penske could be terribly impressed with this, because if they take each other off when they're actually in with a chance of a 1-2 outright victory here at Mid-Ohio, that will not go down in the hallowed halls of Stuttgart.
It's just over an hour and a quarter to go. And what a lovely sight that is, though, for Porsche enthusiasts, because those two cars are really showing their mettle at the moment.
Yeah, into the keyhole again, round they go. Such a tight corner, this huge G-forces there in these cars. Blasting out again, 470 horsepower out of those V8s, normally aspirated. Oh, look at big chart.
And that's going to be a change. He's going to be jammed behind. They've got to be careful.
Luhr takes it. Yep. They got blocked
after
there.
you, Claude.
Yeah. Now there'll be another chance for Romain Dumas to come back again. Partly, wait and see. But they are putting on a great show at the moment. But the main thing, that was a nice, safe show.
Well, with just over an hour's racing remaining, the two Spyders are leading from the front. They continue to battle amongst themselves under the very watchful eye of team boss Roger Penske. Well, Penske was keeping a very close eye on things and giving the orders from pit lane. Meanwhile, back on the track, the number 6 passed the number 7 and went on to victory.
Let's go. Fuel and 4 tires. Fuel first. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, in. Fill it up. Fill it up.
got the flag.
And the
Long
BMW
green,
still
we're
running at
racing
the end
again.
as well.
Yeah, so we've just got it in. I reckon there's another lap to go after that.
140 as it shows on the top up there.
+3 on the Audi, +3.
+3 on the Audi, so Capello was able to close up that much. So maybe it was a red herring, that replay. We saw the Audi going past Liz Halliday. Oh, big lock up there by the Aston. That is the car of Pedro Lamy, isn't it? Is Lamy on board? Yeah, that's his car. That was a huge lock up there.
And we're aboard with Capello on what will be the last part of this race now. He's looking for a victory with the Audi R8 in the P1 class after victories in the first two races overall and of course in class, but the points count just the same. And the first real points are scoring here, though in fairness to Sasha Masson, he's lying in second place in the championship. He's got some, I think, 38 points to the 46 by the Intersport car, but it's the Dumas car which leads at the moment, and maybe that's the way that they're going to take the checkered flag. So from last, having qualified first and been put back because of being underweight at the post-race scrutiny, quite correctly so as well.
So into the last lap, there's the white flag flying, just 38 seconds of the race left. Everyone will be able to take that, who gets there before the clock stops ticking, will be able to get another lap in at racing speeds.
And let me tell you about, being 2 kilos underweight and that sort of thing. There'll be thousands of people listening to us with young families who go kart racing, and they do that in heats, and they do the weight right afterwards. There's nothing worse than going from hero to zero as you watch those scales and see they don't quite make the weight. And people know that in all classes of motor racing. But that's the answer, coming from the back to the front. And the guy who's in pole position there at the moment, Lucas Lura, it was Sasha Masson who put the pole position time in there. But when you think now that Dumas, who led for so long at Houston before they had problems there, has no problems here. He had his problems before starting this race, but from the back to the front.
Well, we just had our second retirement of the race posted now. Tom Milner in the BMW, in the Multimatic Panos Esperanti. He's out of electrical problems, and they've just posted that, so they've given up working on that. Here we are. This is it, a formation finish for Porsche, and historic moment, as Tony said. Porsche LMP2 cars finish 1-2 at Mid-Ohio. That is a first, and you saw it here on MotorsTV.
Yeah, the last time a P2 car finish was back at Sears Point in 2003, and that was a Dyson Racing team that haven't had the best of days today. They went on to win it then, but there's never been a 1-2 with 2 P2 cars finishing in first and second.
Ollie Gavin on the pit wall there, cheering in his teammate Olivier Beretta. Well done, Ollie. That is a great streak you've been on. Can he carry it through to the next race? Which is
Le Mans. 8 successive wins, 9 if you include Le Mans, and MotorsTV will be at Le Mans.
...119 laps, 2 hours, 45 minutes. Romain Dumas, Lucas Lure finish 1-2 for Porsche. This car, the Audi R8 of Dindo Capelli, Alan McNeish, finishes third overall and wins LMP1. It wins it by a couple of laps from James Weaver. James Weaver struggling at the end there after a tyre explosion, getting held up then in the pits. Then right behind Weaver is Olivier Beretta, Ollie Gavin, Ron Fellows, together with Johnny O'Connell in the Corvettes, and then the Aston Martin of Thomas Enger, which again had that problem with a tyre explosion, and he split from Pedro Lamy by Liz Halliday, who finishes third in LMP2 and stays together with Clint Field in the lead of the LMP2 class.
And I don't know whether, Audi Sport Team North America will know whether to laugh or cry at the moment, because on the one hand, they would like to have won the race overall. They didn't do that. On the other hand, they looked like they were going to finish second in class, because James Weaver had gone through and was on his way. So they got a bit of good luck and a bit of bad. Well, not so much luck, just Porsche power showing supreme.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there is our winning car coming round, Romain Dumas. Interesting that we didn't have more pit stops. I thought there might be a couple of people just getting short of fuel at the end, but we had those 3 cautions, and that obviously played into everyone's hands. So Romain Dumas brings the winning number 7 car around. Would you believe that's twice today a number 7 car has won? I'm not going to mention
well, you're going to get in trouble again with all your email plans.
The winning number was number 7 here at Mid-Ohio.
Next up in the American Le Mans Series season review, as we look at the P2s as we head to Lime Rock. And the Spyders were still strong and capable of winning this race, but once again, both cars had trouble. The first, after just 7 minutes of the race, when Masson made contact with the GT2 Ferrari and had to come into the pits.
Let's change tires.
Well, there we saw the contact. After just 7 minutes of the race, you can see how quickly this Porsche was already lapping the GT2 cars. Now we jump ahead. 1 hour and 36 minutes remaining. We're on board with McNeish, as he is able, you see him there, right up behind Timo Bernard's number 6 Porsche, to take the lead. And what brilliant pictures there from the onboard camera in McNeish's Audi. On board now with Romain Dumas. And well, the Porsche wasn't able to win the race, but the Dumas-Bernard duo did win the P2 class, and the comeback had begun.
In Prototype 2, Intersport Racing's Little Lola That Could continues to keep the might of the Porsche factory at bay with 3 wins as Clint Field and Liz Halliday hold on to a slim lead in the series' closest title fight.
In the Prototype 2 class, how worried is Porsche about making sure that one of their drivers stays in this championship hunt? Well, they're worried enough that they have split second-place driver Sasha Maassen and Lucas Luhr, placed them in separate cars for the remainder of the season to ensure that if one of those cars has a mechanical problem, at least one of those drivers stays in the championship hunt.
Well, we head directly to the first pit stop, where it will be Romain Dumas that jumps in to the yellow racing machine. The race is also under yellow flags, and there are cars diving into the pits left, right and center. Well, when Dumas leaves the pits, he is leading and is the first car behind the safety car. But all of a sudden, we find him stopped at the penalty box.
Notice the number 7 is in pit lane, but not where you want to be. It's the penalty box.
Yeah. And that penalty was for passing the pace car before the start-finish line. We'll take a look at this restart. And you'll see right here, there's a pace car, the green and black top car up in the front. He's going to pull off to the right. And there's the acceleration, and clearly he did in fact pass well before pit in.
Later on in the race with the number 6 car and Timo Bernhard leading in the P2. The two Porsches would go on to finish first and second. Sascha Maassen taking first place in the overall P2 leadership with 2 points ahead of the Field Halliday duo. Next up was Petit Le Mans, and we head directly into the race. 1.5 hours gone, and a first alert for the Porsche with the number 6 shared by Dumas, Bernard, and Mike Rockenfeller. The car is in the pits. The problem is the accelerator. The mechanics have to get to work, but it is not an easy job. And just a few laps later, Romain Dumas was back in the pits again for new repairs. However, everything was going to be okay for the number 7 car with the yellow flag out. It was able to be a routine pit stop and driver change.
Time to get back in there and drive it in the... Hold on, make sure the belts are on.
There is the number 6 car into the pits as well. Well, things weren't going entirely according to plan. For the Porsche team, and there you see it straight away. Dumas just heads straight into the garage.
And Clintfield is in the pit lane. Well, now, is this about time or is it early? I think this might be a little bit early. Let's go down. Up comes the visor. He knows that he's in the pit lane. He's on the pit lane limiter. And this is the leader in P2 in the pit lane. Let's go down to the pit lane and pick up a pit lane interview. I think it's Doug Kelly who's down there, and the computer's been plugged in, Doug.
Indeed, John. It's a full service stop. They're loading the fuel now. The tire's about ready to go on, but a very concerned Intersport crew right now with the computer. They're taking the readings. We'll see what Clint is able to tell them here, but definitely a concerned situation for the number 37.
Well, he was trying the steering there, as much as to say the power steering's not working so well. Sascha Maassen now back on the lead lap and only needs to come round one more time to retake the lead. Well, you'd not have put your house on this a few hours ago when both of the Porsches at one stage or another were behind the wall. The 6 car with throttle trouble, the 7 car with fuel in the driver's compartment. And Joe Bradley is at the front of the car, and there's some worry down there, Joe.
Yeah, it's coming from the left front corner. We've got the engineer in there, and he's jiggling around on the suspension. We've had Clint turning the lock from left to right. It looks like the wheel is about to go on. This car's been off the track, remember. It had a bit of an off-track excursion. Clint did very well indeed to keep it off the wall. We're looking at shock absorbers, and we're looking at shocker mountings. And it looks like we're about to lose the lead. We've just lost the P2 lead here. This car, remember, having very little track time across the week with a problem with Liz Halliday going off midweek and the car not being put to rights until qualifying late Friday afternoon. Sasha Masson then into the lead of the P2 class, and it's looking like they may have another problem with the steering rack. They had a problem with the steering rack having completed the engine job, or the engine mounting job that they had. Straight after qualifying, they had a broken steering rack. It looks like that one might have come back to haunt them, because that's the area they're looking into. We've got a mechanic with one of the front covers off, and he's looking down at way past where the suspension mounting is, the shock absorber mounting is, and he's looking down into where the steering rack is housed. Pinfield still jiggling. Looks like this car's going to be here for a little while.
And Sasha Masson is about to come round and put a lap on them as he comes through. Lucas Law will be round soon and take second place as well, and that's a big concern, as across the start-finish line goes Sasha Masson, and has indeed put a lap on Clint Field, who is stationary in the pit lane. He has crossed the start-finish line, so he's a lap back now, and Lucas Law is on the same lap. So next time Lucas comes around, it will be third place for that 37 car. Although, having said that, Sasha Masson's not having it all his own ways. He's nearly put off the track by Duncan Dayton up at the top of the S's as he's trying to fight his way through with Marco Werner. Joe Bradley, an update from the Intersport team.
The car went down off the jacks onto the floor, and we had a mechanic jiggling the wheel with quite an effort. The steering wheel was moving from left to right without having any effect whatsoever on the wheels, so it's certainly a steering problem here. The car, there it is. The steering wheel is being jiggled left to right. I think this car might have to go behind the wall. That would be a complete shame. This car has had its fair share of problems this week, but it looks like a problem with the steering. And yes, that is the 37 Intersport Lola going behind the wall. Pinfield being given instructions to take the car behind the wall, down the pit apron, just firing the car up, or is that, no, indeed they're going to push it.
Welcome to the beautiful Monterey Peninsula as Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca once again hosts the season finale for the American Le Mans Series. It's the Monterey Sports Car Championships.
And welcome to Monterey itself. Here's the deal. The win for Lua and Duma, and second place for Masson, which means Masson and Lua, the two ex-teammates, will both be crowned champions. The pole in P2 for Masson and Bernard. The disappointment for Duma, who had a suspension problem during qualifying. With a car very difficult to drive, it was to be 5th position on the grid for him. As we're set for the start now. There's the green flag. And it's the Porsches that jump into the lead of the P2 category. we're going to jump on board live with Dumas. As expected, the number 7 car is leading.
We see Romain Dumas leading the LMP2 class right now, and in fact he was given that lead by his teammate and co-driver Sasha Masson in the other machine. Now remember, Sasha Masson and Lucas Lowe were teammates at the beginning of this year, and to try and secure this championship, they've gone in different directions and switched them to different cars. The goal all along is trying to orchestrate this championship so they can have co-driving champions here today, and for that to happen, the 7 car needs to win, with the 6 car finishing right behind.
Moving up to the P2 category, good battle unfolding right here. The number 19 of Ben Devlin is the leader in the P2 category because of pit stops and changed things up. He evolved into the lead, and that is Romain Dumas, the number 7 DHL Global Mail entry. This is for position, and Devlin is a good driver. Now, the Radical not quite as sorted, perhaps, these days, but he's hanging on.
It's not that far off either. The Radical qualified 3rd, which is a really good stepping stone for a brand new chassis.
Was that defensive?
That was just, I'm not going to give you that.
Yeah, he dissuaded him big time, without any question at this point. So Dumas just tucks in behind. I think certainly the Porsche a bit quicker right now, but again, talking about those 70%. If this car, the 7 and the 6, get there, one of the 2 of them is going to win a championship. So Dumas doesn't want to do anything overtly reckless at this stage, I would think.
No, they both are sitting in the catbird seat, really. You know, all they have to do is get that 70% mark. But that being said, you know, they still want to win. I'm sure they're under orders from Mr. Penske to win. Both, I mean, that's the nice thing about having the 2 drivers is that you got 2 bullets. Look at that. That Radical is doing a good account for itself.
It is. That's AER power in that car. Pretty much the same power plant that's running in the Intersport Lola. And that car, it does have decent straight line power. There's no question. And Devlin doing a great job right now of keeping Romain Dumas behind him.
Of course, Radical wants to sell some of these chassis. There's only a couple of them around so far. They want to make this car run at the front and sell some of these cars. It's a really nice looking piece. And you are going against the Porsche factory and Roger Penske.
Porsche doing a nice job. And all the reports on the Radical are that the car is extremely user-friendly, that it's a very, very comfortable car to go fast in. And there's Roger kind of pondering what's going on and going, well, you should be by him already. And you may be thinking about, hey, I'm just trying to relax up here and you're giving me some TV time. But obviously he's a bit concerned about this at this stage. Boy, look at Devlin get down through that section of corner.
I was about to say, it looks like the Porsche has advantage in braking and getting into these corners, but that Radical is coming off of the corner awful strong. In fact, that's what's negating the ability to get past. Watch as they come onto the straightaway here. The Radical putting the power down pretty doggone good. Usually just squirts off away from the Porsche.
Dumas fairly close at this stage. Let's see if he's got enough to make the move. Now, you know Devlin's going to protect the inside, and he does.
Good for him.
Hey, first in, first choice of line.
That's right. And this is where he's been good, coming off these little tight turn 3, turn 4, those squirty corners where you really need to get cut down. Look, see how much mid-corner speed he had on the Porsche? He opens up about 3 car lengths right there. He's going to do some more right here.
There goes.
The car is really good on this flat, slippery surface.
Now, question to pose here. We've been talking about the fact that these cars pull the gravel up on the track and the lot. Part of the issue is going offline here. It gets real slick. Now, Dumas showed the nose, and here comes his teammate Sasha Masson right behind. In the 6 car, they had that nose replaced, so that is now in chase mode.
Yeah, you look in the rearview mirror, now you see 2 of them. That's not good.
Through the corkscrew.
He's not good up through here particularly. It looks like the Porsche is on this end of the track, the superior chassis. Yet when he gets down off of turn 1, 2, 3, the Radical really is fast.
Well, look at that. That's the Vanderster team, and they are loving what they're seeing right now. Dumas again looks to the inside, but just not enough, and has to tuck back in behind that EFC Systems Kumho-tired Radical, and there he goes again.
That Devlin again gives a good launch up the front straight.
Well, Ben Devlin has always been hoping to shine in front of the crowd here, and he's certainly doing that today. Finally, he's got a car underneath him that will allow him to do it. There's going to be a lot of driver movement next year. We're hearing around the paddock that at least one, maybe two of the Porsche contracted drivers are going to be moving to the Audi camp. So for young drivers like Ben Devlin, what a perfect opportunity to shine when there are going to be some seats available for next year.
Well, that's a good point. The Porsche guys are watching this battle, so they're seeing what Devlin is capable of. But Dorsey's feeling the pressure, because into the Andretti hairpin that time, you can see the back end of that black radical step up just a little bit.
Yeah, he's giving it his all, no question. The car stepped out, but he's really good on that flat part. That's surprising to me. I mean, he's just got good mechanical grip.
Well, speaking of Vanderstur Racing, let's get down to Brian with Gunnar.
Well, Gunnar standing right here. I know you're about to get in the car, bud, but you've got to be pumped up. I mean, Ben really holding off the Porsches right now. Anxious to get in, I would assume.
Yeah, this is a unique day for us. We've never led the class. We've never been this high up on the grid. So this is very, very special. The car is blindingly fast right now. Very, very fast.
A lot of emotions down here. Good luck. Go get your helmet on. Have fun.
Well, you can see that team is loving this moment, and deservedly so. I mean, and as a showcase for the Radical right here, obviously, this is pretty special. Now, I think it's obvious that certainly the Porsches might be on an open lap just a bit quicker right now. That doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. This time, Dumas got a great run, but look at Devlin. Keeps that inside line, protects Maassen.
Yeah, Sasha's going to take underneath. Sasha will take second place away, too, if this pass doesn't happen. This is the end of the track that Ben Devlin's better at. The car must have good mechanical grip, because this is the part, there's no downforce, not a lot of downforce through this area, and there's no banking on the track whatsoever. It's very slippery.
Well, generally speaking,
yeah, look how much he's opened up there.
With mechanical grip, that is a huge advantage regardless of aero, because if the car doesn't have mechanical grip and you got to crank in just wads of aero to make it stick, you get straight line speed deprivation because of the drag. So if you got mechanical grip, you're leg up anyway, right?
The Porsches definitely look better on the high-speed corners. Oh, now we got traffic to contend with. This is all the GT2 guys racing for position. There's Devlin right in front of us. Kicks up a little dirt. That's good.
He ran wide. And Dumas, that was it. Threaded. What a move by Dumas, though. Dorsey didn't thread the needle.
Does Maassen come with him? No, he did not.
We are into our last 40 minutes here of this Monterey Sports Car Championship, the season finale of the American Le Mans Series at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, and there has been a lot of action unfolding. Here is Alan McNish, and you'll notice that not in his rearview mirrors and not even in the shot right now is the number 7 Porsche of Lucas Luhr, who was giving Alan a bit of a fit here. We hop on board with Luhr, and he is well back right now, as he's just now working up through the turn 4th, now exiting 4 and heading toward 5 as McNish up in the corkscrew.
Quarter of a lap lead, and this is why that happened, as Lucas Luhr gave chase for the overall lead. Comes down here to the slowest corner on the track, coming up the front straightaway, too much speed, and just does an unforced error spin.
Yeah, and the lap earlier in that lap, he ran way wide at 5.
Now he's lucky right here he doesn't roll himself into the trap and get stuck, but he's still rolling, as you see. and now he's backing onto the racetrack, and look at this. Almost makes contact.
Yeah, Jamie Bach and the Mazda getting around him. Here comes Mullen. Here comes Manassian, and that is the change for second overall.
Of course, that's highly embarrassing because that's right in front of the boss, Roger Penske, who's sitting there on pit lane, so you can't make any excuses and say anything happened that didn't.
Now he still holds on to the lead in P2.
Well, it was a final pit stop for Lua. The overall win was beyond him, but the German driver secured second place overall, and of course victory in P2. Masson was to come home in second. So the checkered flag for Lua and Duma ahead of Masson and Bernard. Mission accomplished. The former teammates Masson and Lua are crowned champions.
In P2, the unofficial results you take a look at. And Lure, what a story there. Brian?
Down here with Lucas Lure, Romain Dumas, celebrating right now with Bib, the Michelin man. Lucas, awesome drive. It didn't come without some excitement, but probably more importantly, you get to share the championship with your good friend Sasha Maassen.
Yeah, that was the main goal before we came here, that we somehow can manage to do that. But on the other hand, we really wanted to push for overall, so I pushed McNish like crazy, but at the end I had not really a chance. But thanks to the team, thanks to Romain, I did a fantastic job in the beginning, and thanks to Sasha, to my co-champion.
Congratulations.
Well, let's take a look at those P2 points, and there it is, dead even, and started the season for 6 races together, and then got split up and still managed to pull it off.
The team victorious today on the track, Stefan Sarazan and Pedro Lamy. If I can...
So let's have a look at the final section of this American Le Mans Series season review. It's the GT1s, and we're on board with Mar Pappas chasing Thomas Enger for third place. But the most important thing to say about this battle between Corvette and Aston Martin, it began on the first lap on the first race of the season in Sebring. Revenge for the 2005 Beretta Gavin Magnussen. They won the race. And Corvette would go on to win in Houston and Mid-Ohio, scoring an incredible 12 wins in a row.
Job well done, man. Job well done.
But the IMSA board decided to average the playing field between the Aston and the Corvette. The C6R took a 80-kilogram handicap, but was able to celebrate another victory. The same rules for Mid-Ohio. It was tough for Aston Martin, but the English brand can say they finally began their season at Lime Rock.
Nice driving. Nice driving. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Goggles in.
And as you can clearly see, a huge crowd on hand here at Lime Rock Park, and they've been watching a great show thus far, but right now they're watching a full course caution. A number of reasons for it. This is one of the major ones that clearly, without a miracle, looks like the win streak for the number 4 CompuWare Corvette is at an end. The reason is they were involved with this car, the number 20 of Chris Dyson, that had worked his way up to 3rd overall and 2nd in the P1 category, and then there was some contact, and they both ended up off track. Dyson able to get out much quicker and was able to get into the pits, but of course all that hard work is gone. And for the number 4 Corvette, as we're watching the activity going on in the Dyson Thetford Norcold pit, is the incident. Now we want to show you the incident between these two cars that caused this caution, Cal.
Well, they're coming through the S's here, through the left hand, and then we talked about in the open, you just can't make a move there. Even if you have a faster car, Chris Dyson just forced the issue there. Olivier Beretta believed he had the line. We heard from some radio communication on that. Let's take another look. And there's a very quick transition here. Olivier starts to turn in, and Chris is there, bang on the apex. So Chris probably thinks it should have been his corner, but Olivier views it an entirely different way.
battle is rejoined. Johnny O'Connell has closed it back up right onto the back of Tomas Enga, who has been repassed for the lead by Pedro Lamy. Those Aston Martins going back and forth, and O'Connell has closed it up right there. Those three cars, that is your battle for position in GT1. This is some great stuff.
It really is. Johnny O'Connell was running second, then he got past, got out wide and picked up some of those marbles, those little pieces of rubber on his tires. It took him a few laps to clean that off and get the car back up to speed. But right now he is putting the pressure back on the Aston Martin squad. Now remember, this number 3 Corvette is not one in nearly a year. It was Infineon last summer, that Johnny O'Connell and Ron Fellows last won a race. He wants it desperately. The 4 car is out of the equation today, but he's got 2 very fast green Aston Martins right in front of him. He can see the victory. He's got to leapfrog both of these cars.
Here you see it at the line, top 3 in GT1. It's that close. 15 minutes remaining. So this battle is on, and keep in mind, Pedro Lamy is only 2.5 seconds up in the last lap.
14 minutes left, 14.
They've been running almost identical lap time, so for these two guys, that's not going to get it done, but Lamy about to hit traffic.
Well, Danny Binks has given Johnny O'Connell the information that he got 14 minutes left, mate. Now, the Aston Martin squad, they may play some team orders. Maybe they're willing to give up the 007 here in terms of victory, allow the 009 to increase his margin in front. So George Howard Chapel, the team manager for the Aston Martin squad, has to do some thinking here. What does he want to achieve today? They desperately need a victory to try and get some momentum for the second half of this season.
So maybe asking Tomas Enga to fall on the sword for the team, as it were.
Boy, for him.
Very, very tough indeed. That is the 007 Aston Martin of Tomas Enga being chased by the number 3 Compuer Corvette of Johnny O'Connell, and nothing has changed anywhere else on the track right now. This is a very compelling battle, and the whole story seems to be that O'Connell needs to get by here because Lamy is getting away.
Oh, he looks to the inside. Tomas Enga, is he going to make it? This is going to be tough. Enga now has the inside line for the chicane. Very difficult to pass there into the uphill. See the little squiggle there by Enga as he jumps back on the power. Wide again, Enga struggling with grip. Here comes O'Connell to the inside in the diving turn. Got him! Beautiful move.
Boy. That's right. Now focus on the next one, okay? Nice and steady. He's going 53 forward. I don't know if you can get to him or not. 8 minutes left. 7.
Danny Binks, and he's a cheerleader there. What do you got, Johnny? We need a victory.
Dig, buddy, dig. And the amazing thing was that Lamy was running laps a lot quicker than Enga, so you wonder, obviously, if that team order scenario hadn't played just a little bit, Johnny finally had enough. Great path.
Maybe Enga had reported to the team, listen, I'm starting to struggle here with grip. And they said, well, Lamy's car is good, let him go, and then see if you can hold off the Corvette. So that's what he did for a few laps here, but now we're coming down to the wire, just under 7 minutes to go in this one. Johnny O'Connell, he will give it his all. He is so desperate for a victory here, been so disappointed many times during the last 12 months.
In the end, the checkered flag, and only 0.033 seconds separated Pedro Lamy and Johnny O'Connell. What a comeback. What a finish to the race.
What an amazing weekend. Tell me about it from your perspective.
It was great. I mean, this is a very difficult track with the traffic, so I knew that this race would be difficult, but the team did a great job with the strategy, and the car was good. We had a little problem with the engine at the end, losing a lot of speed on the straight, but it was enough to win. It was great.
The first win of the season for Aston Martin.
Thank you.
And folks, here's a look at the moment that Ralph was talking about.
This in practice here yesterday, Pedro Lamy gets it wrong, and look at the bath he's about to take. Unbelievable. He certainly repaid the mechanics who had to clean that thing up and get it back on the grid today, taking it to victory.
Next stop for the American Le Mans Series was Salt Lake City, a brand new track here in Utah. And we rejoin the GT1 class after 45 minutes of the race. Darren Turner and his 007 Aston was in the lead. But we pick up the action here with Stéphane Sarrazin in the 009 Aston and Olivier Gavin. They are fighting for second place.
Rock hairpin. A great run out of that fourth turn and just carried the momentum in beautifully. And the other thing, keep in mind, this car weighs 200 pounds, the Corvette does, heavier than the Aston Martin, 200 pounds total heavier. And that, you would think, well,
but it doesn't just weigh.
Tires are gone, so let's go for the next one. Good job.
But remember, that 200 pounds is not the nature of the car. That was added to him by IMSA to kind of help try to slow them down.
Performance balance, as
exactly
said. Now, the other thing is, let's not forget, Darren Turner, the 007 Aston Martin, is leading by over 17 seconds. So it's not like that car seems to be falling off too much at this stage, but Gavin is certainly on the problem.
He really is, and that's what the team is trying to give him encouragement. He said the car's working well, look for the next one. So they really felt that they might be able to run down these Aston Martins in the race today, but they are very concerned that maybe these adjustments with the rules have gone maybe a couple of stages, not just one, maybe 2 stages too far. I mean, these boys have dominated GT1 in the last couple of years. They don't want to just throw it away and let Aston Martin have their way for the rest of this season.
That's the 007 right now. Tomas Enga back out after that longish stop.
Still has the lead, though. I think he may have got a break. When we went to caution there, I think he got split from the rest of the GT1 field by the overall leader and essentially gained the best part of a lap.
Tomas Enga in that 007 car was in the pits during the yellow. It had a broken alternator belt. They replaced it in under a minute. Huge kudos to the pit crew. They also got 4 new tires and a splash of fuel, but it looks like 007's pit crew actually preparing for him to come back in. They've radioed in that there's a puncture in the tire, so let's see if he gets a new Pirelli before this one's finished out.
After getting a break like that, Calvin, to then have a puncture perhaps take it away.
But I think he's got the margin, Greg. I think he's got the ability with the gap over the rest of the field to make another pit stop and still hold on to the lead. So the Aston Martin team going for 2 in a row. They won at Lime Rock. Can they get a consecutive victory here today in Utah?
And it is his teammate Saracen in the 009 car that sits second at this stage. But Beretta and O'Connell in the number 4 and 3
And there was the checkered flag. So it's a 1-2 for the Aston Martin team. And a second victory after Lime Rock. 2 in a row for the Astons.
Welcome to the 7th round of the American Le Mans Series, the Generac 500 at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. GT1 Corvette's Ollie's, Aces Beretta and Gavin control the title battle with 4 wins amid controversial rules changes that have seen a rejuvenated Aston Martin squad claim victory in 2 of the last 3 races.
Well, Aston Martin continue to show speed. Stefan Sarrazin qualified on the pole in the 009 machine, but it was close. Both Aston Martins and both Corvettes covered by a mere 0.4 of a second. Now, the coolest race day temperature that we've seen in a while should certainly suit the Pirellis on the Aston Martins. But don't count out the Michelin-shod Corvettes, who placed 1-2 here last year, and a finish that almost saw both cars trading paint as they went across the finish line.
And what's happening in GT1, there it is. That's it, the entire class, and it couldn't be any closer. That's not even 0.4 of a second is how close this battle is right now.
No, that was kind of strange. You see the 2 Astons up there trying to fight with each other, or at least get position for that braking, and that pulls Ron Fellows all the closer. When you get these big sedans side by side and you move out of line, it opens up a wall of air like you can't believe.
Now, we're going to get a comparison. The V12 of the Aston Martin, the big V8 of the Corvettes down the long moraine sweep from turn 3 all the way to turn 5 into that difficult and challenging right here. Falls down the hill braking zone.
Seems like Mr. Turner wants bad by awfully bad. Probably because Ron Fellows wants by him awfully bad.
But at a certain point, if you've got the speed in terms of being a little quicker than your teammate, even though you're behind him, ultimately I would think you ask to get waved through and say, let me see if I can do something here.
He lost a little time there, and you're right. If they're working together, sometimes you will realize as a second car that I think I can do better leading.
There is that long, never-ending carousel corner, the big right-hander leading into the king. Oh! Dropped the tire there, did Turner, and that's going to cost him a little bit of mojo heading down into the kink. So the battle continues. That is GT1. to detect that and bring it in. In GT1, this furious battle continues. No change in position, but they close up. They drop off just a little bit. Just an absolutely fabulous battle right now. And Stefan Serres and the pole sitter hanging on up front.
But they're calling Stefan on the radio and tell him to let Darren Turner by, that he wants to be by. We talked about it at first. They told him they think they could run better if you let him by, so they're
and then Serres' response is to open it up just a little bit by a couple more car lengths. Take a look at the points in GT1 currently. And another good battle unfolding here at this stage. And there you can see them as they come across at the line. There are the margins. Gavin and Beretta, 106 points, 12 back. Engen Turner in the 007 Hackett Pirelli Aston Martin. And then Fellows and O'Connell in the Team CompuWare Corvette sit third, but only 4 points back. So this battle, I mean, the top three covered by essentially 16 points in this championship. And we've got this race plus 3 more to go. And keep in mind the totals in terms of points, considering that both Petit and the race at Laguna are longer races, so there's some bonus points. 89 points are available yet, including this race here. So even though some of these point battles may look a little big, one mistake and that big margin can evaporate in a hurry.
And after 12 laps, all 4 of these cars under one blanket.
And a yellow's going to come out, so he's going to lose even more track position at this stage. And that is why the 009 is in, and that has put the Corvette of Ron Fellows in the lead, because while we were in break, Fellows was able to sneak by the 007 Hackett entry of Darren Turner, and here's how it happened, Doris.
Good setup as he, that's coming out of the kink where we saw a huge wreck earlier in the race today. You don't want to do that there. Watch this on onboard. Talk about scary moment. About 125 miles per hour where you're going out there right there.
And Fellows wasted no time, just jumped down underneath, which obviously Ron saw something developing because he didn't get caught up in that. He was able to adjust his line and able to get through underneath. And talk about fortuitous, because then, of course, the 009 ends up in the gravel. And that promoted Ron into the lead. Here's what happened here, the tail end of it. A lot of traffic there, Dorsey.
Yeah, then the 2 car looks really slow right there. You see the Audi going up the hills awful slow. I think you got a little help in this one.
And so we are now under our first full course caution of the day, and that's going to pack everything up while we get this car removed.
If the car starts and drives, then bring it back to the box and only enter if the pit lane is open.
Okay, where I am, I cannot hear you very well. It's not very clear. What I do, box, or I continue?
If the pit lane is open, then box.
Guys, earlier we thought they were having a problem with the 009 in the right rear tire, but that was not the problem that created the situation in Canada Corner right now. The team reporting they got a little help from one of the Audis as he came by, got touched, just sent him a little bit wide. And Dorsey, as you know, as the marbles collect on the outside of the line there in Canada Corner, you get a little offline, you get a little nudge.
With the 007 has just gone around the 4 car. New leader now as Enga, and we had a report he may have had a little bit of a half spin, and has gone by. He had a bit of a spin on one of the pace laps, gathered it up quickly, and took no time to get back around the 4 car. It's O'Connell.
Yeah,
3 cars actually leading.
Actually, the pass for second place here is O'Connell's got the 3 car just a little up right in front of here.
And O'Connell, remember, brand new fresh tires on that car.
And I think that was the call of the race. I thought that was really smart on those guys under the yellow.
Watch it here.
Down in the brake zone into turn 5. Nice out-braking maneuver. No twitching of the car, no lockup. You see what it looks like when you're the driver's perspective. He's setting him up in the straightaway. Now, we heard that these cars are very fast. You see him coming in on the Corvette. Nicely done. Right down the inside.
It's good read, no issues on the exits. Nicely executed by Enga. So Beretta sits there in 4th. And again, Beretta obviously running a little bit older tire at this stage. We'll have to see what can unfold, if he can stay with Enga now and do something and come back after him, or whether this will determine it. But it certainly looks, I would say, pretty good for O'Connell right now with those fresh tires.
Now, the Aston Martin certainly has straightaway speed. You could see it there, how much it got to run on the Corvette as it went down into that brake zone. You're kind of a sitting duck if the guy's got 10 miles an hour on it.
We rejoin the action now with just 13 minutes remaining, and it's a puncture for the 007 Aston of Thomas Enger. However, the Czech is able to nurse his British machine back to the pits for a tyre change. But that problem means Beretta has moved up into second. Well, there's what happened to Enger's machine as we rejoin the action for the final lap.
And rolling out of that final turn up the hill comes Johnny O'Connell, who is going to bring that number 3 CompuWare vet home for a long overdue and long awaited win for this team.
The next round took us to Petit Le Mans, and the 4 GT1 cars were one behind the other. This time, however, it was the 2 Corvettes in front of the 2 Astons. Fellows ahead of Gavin, Sarrazin and Turner. And here we are on board with the 007 Aston of Turner and Enge. Well, the opening rounds may have seemed like a bit of observation between the 4 cars, but after 2 hours and 45 minutes, a pit stop for the GT1. The Corvettes, numbers 4 and number 3, were leading ahead of the Astons. The 009 jumping into the pits for a driver change. So there is the GT1 Corvette number 3 vehicle sitting second in the category behind their co-teammates. And so diving into the pits now, the 009 Aston, a driver change. Sarrazin is going to take over from Pedro Lamy. Well, so often the pit strategy can make or break your race. And we were to see evidence of that immediately. Because having led for the early laps, the Corvettes were suddenly to find themselves trailing. Here we are on board with Darren Turner. Battling against Johnny O'Connell for third place at the front, Saracen is leading from Magnussen.
Across the start-finish line and through turn one, this battle between Darren Turner and Johnny O'Connell has got us. Well, we've sold you a full seat here at Road Atlanta, but you're only using the edge of it at the moment if you're watching this, because Darren Turner is super quick down through 12. Just can't get up alongside the number 3 GM Chevy Corvette. And after all the controversy and back and forth and stamping and throwing and toys going out of prams at various times this year about performance equalisation, watching this race now and watching the race at Lime Rock earlier on in the year, I've got to tell you that these cars do race well. They do race well together, and there's a wry smile on the face of Tim Mayer alongside us. This is what American Le Mans Series racing, this is what we're used to seeing, and this is what it's all about.
Well, here we are 5.5 hours into the race, and these guys are separated by 0.2 of a second just about, and it's going to be a battle all the way to the finish. These teams are absolutely...
Don't hit him, and he has hit him. Oh, Darren Turner got down the inside, came from a long way back, looked like he tried to back out of it, couldn't get the car stopped, really nowhere for Johnny O'Connell to go, he had to turn in. Now, we've already seen some fairly robust driving earlier on, and now Johnny's got it. Oh, nice driving by O'Connell, not to just come across the racetrack. The slightest of touches by Darren Turner on the back three-quarter panel of the GM Chevy Corvette, but of course the car loaded up and already moving around, and the slightest of touches is all you need. What's he saying to the team? Well, not very much at the moment. Trying to listen into their communications, but dabs the brakes at the top to make sure the pads haven't knocked off the rotors. Coming down into turn 10, Darren looks to have position, fakes to the left, goes to the right, of our left and fakes to the right, got up halfway alongside the car. Johnny has to turn in. Joe Bradley's alongside me. Racing incident there, Joe?
Oh, are we allowed to say that? We are spectators with microphones, aren't we?
Down the inside.
Yeah, I think probably that's in Johnny's blind spot, actually. And he was committed to the corner. You can't just deviate once you've committed to a corner. These guys are on the limit. And I think that's a racing incident. However, I don't know whether the officials will say that. You know, it was is it avoidable or unavoidable contact? That's the question.
And here we are on board with Panos. And here we can see the battle for third place. There you see them, the 007 Aston and the number 3 Corvette.
Looks like there's going to be a rotor change on this car, the left front. Now, we don't expect to see that, but there's a pad or a rotor change on the left front of this car.
That's it. It's a full. Both sides going to have pads and discs, or as they say over here, rotors being changed on that. Now, that you can consider how hot those brake discs are. Absolutely, about 1,000 degrees have been seen. So that I'm not quite sure if that sort of things in the past we've seen that here at Road Atlanta. I know that it's a tough track and in comparison to what we've seen at Le Mans, where these cars go
24 hours.
A full 24 hours indeed, without
Joe, they're changing the whole caliper on the left front. There's looks like there's a dry brake on the hydraulic line.
John, if Jan can shed some light.
The Aston continues what appears to be a regular pit stop. Little problem with the left rear, but it's all done, and the right front being slightly recalcitrant. A bit of rubbish, a lot of rubbish being pulled out of the front of that car as in comes one of its closest rivals. That's the Ron Fellows, the number 3 GM Chevy Corvette, and that again. Oh, and this is not good. The Aston looks like it's shedding water.
Sprung a leak, hasn't it? Quite clearly, we've seen all the way through the race. There's been that's interesting. The car is waved out into the fray. It could be they have some sort of cooling system there in spraying water on the brakes or something. Possibly, I don't know, but it certainly looks a little bit irregular. But we've seen all the way through the race how much debris there is out on a racetrack.
It's the Monterey Sports Car Championships.
T1, what started as a friendly rivalry between Corvette and Aston Martin, has turned into a classic feud. Neither team will give quarter, and today a season-long battle will be decided for drivers' and manufacturers' glory. Well, the glory in qualifying went the way of Aston Martin. Stefan Sarrazin in the 009 machine securing the pole position. But for teammates, Thomas Enger and Darren Turner, they certainly have a lot of work to do here today. They've got to leapfrog those 2 Corvettes to stop them from winning the championship. And Darren, you're starting the car today. What sort of strategy will you employ as you go to green?
I think it's going to be maximum attack from the word go. Obviously, with the sort of action that happened on turn 1 and the first few laps, that's going to be the ideal opportunity to try and get past the 2 Corvettes. But we know what we've got to do. We've got to finish first and second to wrestle that manufacturers championship and the team championship away from Corvettes.
Well, here we are on board the start at Laguna Seca with Thomas Enger, and he makes an absolutely fantastic start. The Astons with the perfect strategy, putting 2 DBR9s in front of both the Corvettes. After about an hour of racing, and after a difficult start and a bump on the left rear, we're on board now with Beretta, who's closing the gap on the 009 Aston with Sarrazin at the wheel. And once again, the C6R is still faster than the DB as we reach the end of a driver stint.
Oh, the 007.
Left front tire is gone. 007 Aston will have to limp to the pits now. That's going up to the whatever you call it.
Corkscrew. Yeah.
One long field. Yeah.
Huge for the Corvettes.
Well, here's the deal. Had the Aston Martins finished 1-2 and then either of the Corvettes finished third, it would have been a tie in the team and manufacturer championships. There are no bonus points, so they would have been co-champions. But the Astons had to finish 1-2 to take second points away from the Corvettes, and this is going to just absolutely spoil that hope.
Lucky here that the tire didn't shred the whole front of the car apart. It stayed with the wheel, and they will get to pit lane and make that change.
And
minimal damage.
Yeah, he's in, and it's a good thing for him. It was a first stall. Cal?
Well, he's in. He's got a flat left. Front left tire has gone down, so that was the problem there. But we understand from Doug Feehan at Corvette that this car would have needed to pit anyway for fuel. So they're going to have to try and do something magical here to try and get this car back towards the front of this GT1 field and try and get the Aston Martin in a position where they can tie Corvette for the manufacturer championship. To do that, they need a 1-2. Thomas Enger is really going to have to hand it down.
Of course, that was more than likely due to a puncture. There's a lot of debris. Greg, we've been talking about the whole time. In fact, the curbs here for motorcycles, cars can run across the curbs. It doesn't upset the car. It brings all this dirt, debris. We've had a bunch of crashes today. Of course, there's shards of fiberglass and carbon fiber. Here are the Corvettes going by the stricken Aston Martin.
He knew it. He moved over. And obviously didn't affect what was going on here, so that's the change. So O'Connell now in the number 3 Corvette moves to second, and Olivier Beretta goes to third. Beretta and Gavin had pretty much already clinched the championship, but Brian, what a huge thing for team and manufacturer.
Yeah, Doug Feehan was up here, just turned around to walk away. Doug, I know the driving championship would be good for the two Ollies, but it's really the manufacturer's championship that you want. The complexion of this race just changed. What's it mean to you guys and your strategy?
Well, quite frankly, we backfilled our strategy all day long to get it to this point, so we know we can run right down to the end. And our objective is to finish 1-2, and that ensures the manufacturer's championship. Obviously, manufacturers is key, but we're not going to settle for second place.
You guys good on fuel to the end, or you need one more stop?
We're good on fuel and tires to the end of this race.
Corvette's going to the checkered flag, guys.
And if they do it, if they win it, it'll be their 6th straight manufacturer's title. That, Dorsey, is a remarkable achievement.
And, of course, it's due very much to the man you look at on the left of the screen. Doug Feehan has spearheaded this team for so many years.
He is one of those leaders that these guys just follow. And one of the reasons is he gets them results, and that is everything. So the chase for the Aston Martin now begins. McNish is hanging on out front.
O'Connell in number 3 Corvette, who has been the last 2 races at Petit Le Mans here, really showing his stuff. I don't know if his contract's due or what, but he's really become really quick, and he's putting a lot of pressure on Sarrazin, trying to take a look at the inside right now. Watch the Corvette as he brakes. He's dumping huge amounts of carbon fiber dust out, which means he's fully on the brakes coming into these corners. See it right there?
Yeah, you bet. Certainly that team is watching that Corvette with great interest, as is Gavin. You saw him sitting there watching, teammate to the guy right behind Johnny there, Olivier Beretta.
Flashing the headlights, flashing the exhaust pipes. Get out of my way.
He's doing anything he can to rattle him. Stefan Sarrazin, I don't know how rattleable, if that's a word, he is.
No, he's about to find out, I think. Johnny's got the bit between his teeth.
This is where Johnny had that big wiggle just a little while ago. You heard Danny Binks saying, calm down. And Johnny is doing right there.
Calm down. He says, calm down. You calm down. I'm going for blood.
There's Danny and Ron Fellows. They're liking what's unfolding here.
Johnny really has done a great job the last 2 races as far as the driving. His driving, he's out-qualified the other car. The last 2, to the inside. Bit optimistic. I think he's just, right now, just letting the presence be known. He wasn't alongside enough to make that pass for real.
More traffic up there. There's more traffic.
It's Danny Binks, voice of Danny Binks, who we worked with last week. at the amateur run-offs for the SCCA. Did a good job.
Yes, he sure did. He's good behind the mic as well as he is behind the radio mic for his team and calling the shots for that number 3 car as they work through traffic. And just to confirm, just did a little look here at the point scenarios. If they finish the way they do right here for the Manufacturers and Teams Championship in GT1, if they finish like this, Chevrolet would have 189 points, Aston Martin 186, so Chevy gets that 6th straight championship, and Corvette Racing does as well as a team, so pretty remarkable really here, but Aston Martin sure is giving them a great fight.
The Corvette camp has its whole, either car it can win or can't race each other. All they've said to them is keep 4 cars apart.
Brian?
Johnny Mollem brings his Zytek in. They'll just take fuel only, just enough so they can get to the end. What a job Mollem has done in adjusting to this prototype car. He ran so well. Great to see them back next year. Zytek would like to come and run the complete American Le Mans Series. Just depends on funding. Imagine that, Dorsey. Depends on funding. It'd be great to see them back together.
Oh, and look at this. Is O'Connell around the outside of Saracen down the front straight. Now Saracen going to try and come right back down the inside. He's there.
You got it.
And O'Connell.
He's in there.
Oh, and he got out in the junk. Dorsey got a little crossed up.
Got pushed out to that gravel on the outside. The dirt on this racetrack's immense this late in the race. This race isn't far from over, believe me. Johnny will pay that favor back.
Oh, he will come back after him. And obviously, had there been more on the line in a sense for Beretta, I think he would have tried a little bit more to sneak underneath there. But at this stage, they've got their championship. You don't want to do something untoward and then end up involving both cars here. And that's the issue. Now, of course, with that run down that front straight into the Andretti hairpin, you know it had to start back at turn 11. And here we are. Go back and take a look at it heading into the final turn onto that pit straight.
It's out of 10, down at 11. Johnny goes to the inside. Good hard braking, takes the apex away. Look at the carbon fiber rotors glowing on the right front. Gets the good launch, but that Aston's got legs. It out top ends him. This is going down into turn 1, headed for 2 where it bottlenecks. Johnny pushed out into where the dirty racetrack is. And look at the crew. Ron Fellows, he's getting a kick out of it.
Oh, he wanted that one. And, you know, keep in mind now, at Petit, both of these vets had braking problems. Now, of course, that's a much longer race, but they said it wasn't even just a problem with the brakes. It was they tried something, it didn't work, and they said, we won't make that mistake again. And clearly, Johnny, that car, awfully good under the braking right now as we watch Sarrazin.
So victory for Stefan Sarrazin, just ahead of the 2 Corvettes. Olivier Beretta and Oliver Gavin are co-champions. GM Corvette is the overall champion. Sarrazin, 3rd in the final standings.
Now GT1 unofficial results, and there it is. Pedro Lamy and Stefan Sarrazin, the winners. Cal?
Tremendous battle here today between the Aston Martins and the Corvettes, and Stefan Sarrazin, you come out on top, and it got awfully close. Talk us through that lap when Johnny O'Connell and you were side by side going into 1.
Yeah, it was a really difficult race because they was fast. We was almost equal, and he tried to overtake me. He overtook me here. I went inside, and at the end of the straight line, it was door by door, and I didn't release the throttle. I stayed flat out, and I hope it will be okay. And after, it was much better. So I'm really happy. The team did a very good job. The mechanics was perfect. Strategy was really good. Pedro was really fast. So very good day for us.
Superb season. Congratulations tonight.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Very good season.
Well done.
Well done indeed. Now let's take a look at the points in GT1 quickly, and you see Gavin and Beretta, though, get the championship for the drivers, with Sarrazin moving into 2nd. Enga ends up, or excuse me, into 3rd. Enga moves up, falls to 4th, and O'Connell and Fellows are tied for 5th. So that's how it played out in GT1. But awfully entertaining season, and certainly a very entertaining race today.